we doing, everybody? And welcome into Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage. We're coming back on a Friday night, a little bit later than usual, but I had basketball practice tonight here for the 5th and 6th grade boys basketball, coaching them up here. We got a game tomorrow, so excited for that, but I was coaching there, so we got on a little late. Aaron was working. It all kind of worked out at the end of it there. We were able to jump on at the same time here. So it's a good Friday, a fantastic Friday here. The Packers, you know what? I'm not even going to say that I'm that down on it. I'm not even going to say I'm that down. It sucks that the Packers lost. It sucks that they lost. But I saw things in that game where I'm like, I like this. I like where we're at. I like this team. I think they're a good team. I think they're a great team. I think they have a potential to beat, the top teams in the NFC. So we're going to get into the Packers today, Badgers, everything in between. I got Aaron with me tonight here on the show. Aaron, how we doing on this Friday night?
Not too bad. Yeah, it depends on the Thursday night game that I'll kind of watch it, start to finish. But last night had me glued there too. Big stakes, and obviously we're talking Wisconsin sports on the go, so I need to be educated on Wisconsin sports. But it was a good game. Obviously, a shame for you guys that just a little bit short. But I mean, it was a very good game, and I mean, I thought, excuse me, I thought honestly when Dan Campbell ran it there on fourth, like the Packers were going to stop it, which obviously came to seal the deal. But that was that's what Dan Campbell does. I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying don't risk it all the time like that, but that was make or break. I mean, that really was, and they made the play. But man, it was a good game after because I messaged you after the first quarter. I was like, man, Packers need to get it together. But I mean, yeah, tale of two halves. It felt like after halftime they played a lot better.
Yeah, 100%. We're going to get into that more later here on the show. But I actually, when Dan Campbell went for it on fourth down there at the end of the game, I felt like that was a sign of respect for Jordan Love and Matt LaFleur, because he said, I don't want these guys to have the football one more time. There was limited time. There was no timeouts. But for a guy to go, I know he's ballsy. I know he is. And, sometimes it comes back to bite. That 4th and 2, the Packers stopped it on the 30. You're going to have those moments where it's going to come back to bite you. But at other times, it's going to work. And it worked for him there late. And, I mean, it was just like the ultimate show of respect. Like, no, I don't want these guys to get football back. Like, I would rather go for it on fourth down here. They got no timeouts, run the ball, see what we can do. And if we don't get it, we don't get it. We give them limited time with little amount of field. Don't let them get too far, that kind of thing. So I actually like that. I thought that was actually the right call by Dan Campbell, because, you look at the percentages on the game, and we're going to get into it later, but they were pretty darn good on fourth down outside of that 1 4th and 2 call, which I thought the 4th and 2 call, I didn't like that one. I thought that in that spot, it's iffy. Now I get what he's trying to do. And I mean, it didn't work out in that case, but if it did, he's a genius, right? And, a lot of people love to put this thing on there where when he does it and it fails, they're like, oh, Dan Campbell, he's such an idiot. He's like so stupid. And then all of a sudden he gets it, and, on the next one, he's going to get it. And they're like, oh yeah, he's a genius. He's a genius. Right. And I believe it's Ben Johnson. Isn't that Ben Johnson's the offensive coordinator there? I mean, he's fantastic. I mean, I am completely like, I was flabbergasted watching that offense. Some of the calls that he's throwing in there, some of the play action, everything like that he's throwing out there, misdirection to kind of confuse the Packers and everything like that. Like, he is fantastic. That play call he had on the fourth down, where he drew up the little angle route there to Jahmyr Gibbs, like, that was beautiful. It was beautiful. Like, caught the Packers off guard, everything. It was just a beautiful play call. And Isaiah McDuffie, what are you supposed to do? Like, you're not very good in coverage to begin with, and now you're trying to match up with Jahmyr Gibbs coming out of the backfield like a freight train. Like, it's going to be tough. And, it was one of those games. I thought it was a good game. I actually thought it was a good game. There was bits and pieces where the offense played well, which was mainly, it took them a quarter and a half to get going, right? So that was a big killer for the Packers there. The defense for Green Bay, they just couldn't get that one stop, right? They couldn't get that one stop in that game, and that's what ultimately was it. I mean, you talk about all the fourth downs. If they stop them once on 4th and goal, there's your difference, right? And then you had the pass interference by Christian Watson in the red zone there. That's a killer. That's a backbreaker right there. So, I mean, we're going to get into it. We'll get into the Packers and Lions game here a little bit later on in the show. But right now, I had a big question to start off the show tonight. I was scrolling through my Twitter earlier, and I seen everybody's talking about this one topic, and I had to get your opinion on it. So when you get in a car, right, you and let's just say you have a lady with you or whatever you got, you know, your buddy, whatever it is, you get in your car. You guys, maybe you stop at like a fast food joint. Maybe you're at like McDonald's or you're at whatever it is, Burger King. I don't know what you guys got out there in Pennsylvania. It's a weird town out there. But
same stuff, yeah. Probably. I mean, you probably get one of those like was it Checkers or something? Like either maybe you got something we don't, but you know the
you got Culver's out there. Is there a Culver's out there in Pennsylvania?
Never heard of that one.
Oh my. Okay, so we're gonna get Aaron we're gonna do a GoFundMe, get Aaron to Wisconsin to give out a little bit of Culver's because you have not had cheese curds until you go to Culver's. But so my question, okay, so you go to fast food joint, right? You're at a fast food joint and you and your buddy get a drink. Which cup holder is for the passenger and which cup holder is for the driver? You know, they have the cup holders in a line there, back and front. Which one is which? Like, where do you put your drink if you're the driver?
So I'll cue you in on this, Trajan. I do drive manual, so it is sometimes sometimes the shifters and and then the cup holder I usually take I'm so reliant on the back cup holder because of the gears, because of the stick shift there, because of the stick shift, because of the manual transmission. But I mean, yeah, I'm trying to think of it logically though. Now it's like throwing me for a loop. I think I still would take the back one just out of like, that's what I do. Like maybe that doesn't make sense. And now I'm curious to see how you play it, but it's always like the staple is the back one because that's just what I like. That's what I do. I don't know.
I feel like the back one has got to be for if the driver, you don't want him to reach too far, right? And you got your arm up on that center console and you're driving along there, you got to have the back cup holder. I don't care if it's an automatic or if it's a manual, you got to have that back cup holder be yours. So I'm going to go back cup holder. But hey, anybody out there in the comments, which cup holder is yours? Which one is yours? That's what we want to know. That's the biggest question of the day is, are we a front or are we a back kind of society? That's what I want to know. So we'll see. We'll see what everybody thinks out there over the live stream and everything. But that's my biggest question. That was my biggest question of the day right there, outside of, sports or anything that we're actually here to talk about. That was my biggest question. So
I like that though.
So let's talk about some sports here. So Wisconsin volleyball right now, they are in a little bit of a pretty good match here against Georgia Tech. I believe it's still tied 1-1 there in the third set. They're over on ESPN Plus. I'm not an expensive person here, so I don't have ESPN Plus. I can barely afford Peacock, so I can't get that ESPN Plus. But right now it's a 1-1 tie there. Wisconsin did win that second set. They got the win over Fairfield yesterday there. 3-0. They swept Fairfield there in the first round. So hopefully we see the Badgers pull out a win here. And then they would face the winner of, that game's still happening right now. New Hampshire and Arizona State is currently starting right now. And then they would play the Texas A&M, New Hampshire, Arizona State winner there on the backside. So we'll see what happens there with Wisconsin volleyball. Just wanted to mention some of the Big Ten awards there. Sarah Franklin, she earned the unanimous first team all Big Ten honors there for the Big Ten, back-to-back years, earned player of the year. So that's fantastic. She's been nothing but fantastic in a Badgers uniform. Hannah Smrek, back-to-back first team all Big Ten honors. Carter Booth, second team all Big Ten. Julia Orzel, second team all Big Ten and sportsmanship honoree. Charlie Furbringer, she won second team all Big Ten, a unanimous selection to the all freshman team. And then Lola Schumacher there. She's an all freshman honors there. So great to see some of these Badger. I mean, they have a pretty good team put together right now. And they're in a kind of a dogfight right now with Georgia Tech there at the Fieldhouse. That'll be the last match there at the Fieldhouse for the season. So we'll hopefully be talking about a Badger win there, and then we'll see who they'll be squaring off with next. That must be coming up next week at some point there is when they'll play that next round if they get this win off against Georgia Tech. So hopefully we're talking about a big win there moving forward. But good stuff there. We have one on the text in line, Aaron. Typically whatever one my cup fits in, no preference. I didn't know that. What do they make, multi-sized?
Yeah, typically
I guess some cars do. I guess
the back one's always bigger too. So
that's true.
Like you're never gonna see a front cup holder bigger than, like, if they are different sizes, it's always the back one. So that's a safe bet too. Like you're kind of
Yeah,
guaranteeing
yeah.
it stays in play. I mean, I guess to a certain degree.
See, but I'm that guy, that driver that chooses dominance, though. So I'm like, if my passenger, if they get a large, I'm getting a double extra large. Like, I'm making sure I got bigger than what they got. I ain't dealing with that. I ain't dealing with that mess. Assert dominance right off the bat, especially with the cup holder. Like, you own the car, I get to pick the cup holder. I don't care if your cup doesn't fit. Put it in your lap. I don't care. Like, I own the car.
Are you like, I mean, with your woman, it might be different, right? But like with a buddy, are you like, because usually me and my friends like, we alternate songs, but sometimes I won't say anything. If I'm passenger, I was passenger today earlier, and I let my buddy play his music. I wasn't into it. I wasn't feeling it today, but I didn't say it. I was like, he's kind of doing me a solid. So I'm going to let him play. I'm not even going to say anything about it. You know what I mean? I wasn't in the place to.
See, I don't know if I'm gonna blow your mind here, but I listen to sports talk radio just about all the time. Like, everybody knows what, like, my grandpa, whenever I'll take the farm truck and I'll take it out and, and I'll bring it back. He's like, oh, no, a new Trajan was in there. Sports talk radio is blaring through the roof. Like, it's funny story. We got our feed truck there, use it to haul feed for the cows. And it's, it's cold up here. So it's starting a little colder. And, we couldn't get it to run for a while there. Well, I got it started one day and I went inside the house, and all of a sudden I walked back out and I could hear Bill Michaels across the driveway. I could hear him like blaring across the driveway. I'm like, oh, truck shut off. Oh, and Grandma's like, how'd you know? I was like, I could hear Bill Michaels from here. Like, I didn't know it was off. And so, I mean, I'm a big sports talk. The wife, she'll get sick of it at some point, and then she'll flip on music or something. But usually she plays along. She doesn't want to listen to sports talk the entire time, but usually she'll kind of play along there and she'll listen to it. And, she tries. She really does try to get invested into like all sports like I do. Like, she's a Vikings fan, but she likes the Badgers, and she likes sports to an extent. She loves the Brewers, likes them to an extent, but she doesn't go overboard like I do, where I'm, getting my work van at, 5:00 in the morning. I'm listening to sports talk radio. And then at the end of the day, I'm still listening to sports talk radio. Like, it's one of those kinds of things there. So, I mean, we don't really alternate songs though. We never really alternate songs. I just kind of go with the flow, or I turn on sports talk. Like, I don't like around here. I listen to country music, and around here, they play the same darn song over and over again. I just hate listening to radio. Yeah. So if I'm not listening to Bluetooth, I'm all sports talk. No,
I hear you. When I'm by myself, I do listen to sports talk a lot. So I'm with you there. It's just like, if I have a friend in the car, it's like, I don't know. I always thought going back and forth is the most fair, though. Like, sometimes I'm like, you know what, just play what you want. But in my mind, I'm like, man, I just wish I could play. So,
in your mind, you're like, this music sucks. Like, you are actually terrible, and you should get out of my car.
Right. Yeah. So that does apply sometimes, for sure.
All right. Let's get to sports here. So, Badger football. We got a little bit of good news, right? We haven't gotten good news in a while. The best news was probably that they didn't make a bowl game. That's kind of what I was hoping for. I just couldn't. I really, honestly, I wanted them to make a bowl game to keep the streak alive. But then again, I didn't want to watch the train wreck anymore. I was like, I kind of want it to be done. Like, this is the way that it was supposed to happen. But Wisconsin football is back in the news. They're in talks right now. They're targeting offensive coordinator Jeff Grimes from Kansas right now. So, the deal is not complete, but the sides are in talking, and those talks are intensifying. They're thinking that they're going to intensify here, and this deal might actually get done here at some point. So a little bit of exciting news there. Just to fill in, Grimes, he joined Lance Leopold there at Kansas in 2023. He was good at Baylor. He was at Baylor before that there as the offensive coordinator, where he ran his wide zone scheme. And the Baylor Bears got to the Big 12 championship, got to the Sugar Bowl, won the Sugar Bowl there in 2021, when he was working under Dave Aranda, a very good coordinator himself there and head coach. During his time at Baylor, they referred to his offense as the RVO. It's short for reliable, violent offense. That is, I love that. I honestly, like Aaron and I were talking about before we came on here, I was like, this guy sounds like what I want at Wisconsin. A reliable, violent offense. Like, that sounds like good offensive linemen, big running backs, like tight ends, like smash mouth football. Like, that's what I want to see. So seeing that, I was like, yes, sir. Physicality and attacking mindset that defines his offensive approach. He's known for his offensive line and run game coordinator background. He emphasizes balance, staying in attack mode, and efficiency. That philosophy could align well with Wisconsin's desire to blend physicality and a more modern offensive, creativity and scheme out there. I like it. And we're gonna look. Aaron, did you have some of Kansas's numbers up from this last year? Some of the rankings there, but I love this. The idea of what I'm seeing here, just because it's an efficient, it's a balanced offense. You're gonna balance out that run and pass. You're not gonna get too crazy with it, like the weird sets and everything like that. But what did Wisconsin pride itself on before? Run game, offensive lineman, right? That was the two big things. Now you bring in a quarterback into that system. Maybe you get some wide receivers in there. You run this efficient passing game. Maybe there's still some deep shots in there. Like, I'm not going to think that this guy just completely goes away from the deep shot. Maybe there's some deep shots in there, but it's a high powered offense. And I think it's going to fit well with what Wisconsin could, or what they should be doing right now. And I like the idea because the transfer portal opens up on Monday. I like the idea, if they can get this thing done, to get him in there, because you don't know, like some of those guys from Kansas, maybe they're like, we want to go with you. Like, hey, can we get up to Madison there? So maybe you get some wide receivers, whatever it is, out of that deal. Maybe you bring up, I don't know who their quarterback was, but maybe you bring him up there. So one of those kinds of things where you get that offensive coordinator into place. And I know they're still going to be looking at possibly getting a quarterback coach on top of that, which I think is a good idea. Get a quarterback coach, get an offensive coordinator in there. I like those ideas, but get all that figured out, and then those transfers can see what you got going on. I really think it's hard to, entice guys in the transfer portal when you don't have an offensive coordinator currently in line, because they don't know what you're going to do, right? Maybe the guy that you bring in, they don't like. Why would I want to transfer there then? So I really think you got to get this figured out. I like this guy. I like his name. I like his philosophy. And I like the stats, because I think Kansas they were okay. They had a couple big upsets there, I thought, towards the end of the season. They were kind of a subpar program this year. But Aaron, I mean, did you have time? Did you pull up some of those stats there for, their offensive stats and stuff like that?
Yeah, I did. What's really funny, I don't want to tie everything to Penn State, but Andy Kotelnicki was Kansas's offensive coordinator. Then he went to Penn State this past season. This guy stepped in and was offensive coordinator for Kansas. So maybe Kansas is just that, like,
kind of like a stepping ground, like a
stepping ground. Yeah, because if that's too straight to get pulled, in back-to-back years, that's saying something. But it's they're 55th in points per game, which not bad. Like you already said, we don't even know who their quarterback is. So like those stats, you don't have to, don't persecute this guy for those stats, because we don't know if they had the athletes even, but some things that just kind of jump out without going through all of it. On third down, they were 50%. That's crazy. That's third in the nation. That's
impressive right there. That's efficiency. That's like, we're talking efficiency.
That's what you want. If you're top 10, top 15 in third down conversion, that's huge. Like, that's winning. That's the difference between being in games and not. So, looking at that, that's also very good. Red zone scoring percentage, 87%, 45th in the nation, not bad. Yards per rush, they were 16th in the nation at 5.3 yards per rush. And then rush yards a game, also 16th in the nation. They cleared 200 yards a game, just over that, so 201. Some definite things you like there. I know Wisconsin is like Iowa, like some teams in the Big Ten there, Northwestern, Illinois, they love to run the ball. If this guy has a track record of success running the football when he's coordinator, I think that plays into their hands better. Some things you definitely see and like I said, hard to kind of grade them. Kansas went 5-7, but like we said, don't know, how that team even looked this season as far as recruiting and who they had. They might have had like nobody, and they found a way to win 5 games. So it's tough to say. And he wasn't the head coach, so at least there's that. So
you want me to entice you with this one? Because their quarterback is brothers with Jaden Daniels, currently at Kansas there. Jalen Daniels is currently the quarterback down there at Kansas. So, this guy, he's got the same ability. He's passed for over 2,000 yards this year and had over 400 yards rushing, did Jalen Daniels. So you can kind of get a picture on what this offense would kind of look like underneath the Grimes, where the quarterback is still running the football. As you see here, he's got 447 yards on, I believe, 93 carries. So you have a quarterback whose ability to run. Jalen Daniels did say he's going to return to Kansas, but that doesn't mean Jack Dilly squat if his offensive coordinator leaves. Maybe Jalen Daniels says, hey, I'll come up to Madison with you. I'll travel with you up there. You got your quarterback spot figured out now, because I believe this guy would probably get first crack at it there. Yes, I mean, his touchdown to interception ratio is not crazy good. He's 14-12, 14 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, not crazy good. But he had a 68 QBR. His completion percentage was 57%, which isn't great by any means. But, you never know. Like we're talking, we don't know. I haven't watched a lot of Kansas football, so I can't tell you if he had all the playmakers in the room or anything like that. So, I mean, it's definitely a big if there. I mean, you're talking about a guy who put up 37 points against Colorado. He put up 37 points against Colorado, 17 against BYU, and then he put up 45 points against Iowa State, who was ranked at the time. So, I mean, his offense, as we've been talking here, has that ability to put up points with some pretty good teams. And now we're putting into perspective, if you think the Big 12 is actually good yet, now that Texas and Oklahoma left, we're putting into perspective that here. But they were able, they put up points. Their defense kind of, I won't say just their defense let them down. Their offense was slow poke in some games there. I mean, they lost 35-31 there to Arizona State, who's currently playing for the Big 12 championship. So that puts into perspective what this offense can do. But, I like the numbers. I think that, like you mentioned there with the third down, they're inefficient on third down. I like the play calling that I'm seeing out of that. And, I would not be opposed to this hire. I'm going to be honest with you. I would not be opposed to this. I think he's done very good with a Kansas roster that, from what I saw in the little action that I did, this Kansas offense they didn't have a lot of playmakers. They weren't great, but I still think he's got the ability. So I'd love to see him come up to Madison there and show us what he's got, with maybe a little bit more talent. I don't know. Like I said, maybe he brings Jalen Daniels with him. Maybe he doesn't, but you get that offensive coordinator spot figured out, I think the pieces will kind of fall. And I think guys, if they do like Grimes, like we saw what he did at Baylor there, where they had a pretty successful season, won the Big 12, and then went on to go to the Sugar Bowl and won the Sugar Bowl game there. That tells you this guy, he's got that, he had to have beat Texas that year. Texas was probably down, but Texas was still in that Big 12. They end up in the Big 12 championship. They got the job done. Like that's a pretty good track record for him. So we'll see what the Badgers do there. I know they're in talks. We'll see if that thing gets figured out here. I'm hoping it gets figured out here and they have kind of a deal made up here by, maybe next week. I would like next week, because the transfer portal does open up on Monday there. So good news there for the Badgers. Finally, possibly getting that offensive coordinator spot figured out there. But Aaron, let's talk about some of these other college football championships games. We'll stick with the college football. I want to talk Badgers basketball after this year, but let's talk about some of these games coming up this weekend, because there's some big matchups already happening. Boise State currently up 21-0 on UNLV. That's the other guy that I believe the Badgers were looking at there was Brennan Marion, who is at UNLV right now. We'll see what they do in that game. Army up 21-7 on Tulane at the moment here. We'll see what happens in those two games, but we have a couple other ones coming up there on Saturday. So Big 12 championship game. Iowa State taking on Arizona State. Number, I believe, 16 in the nation, taking on number 15 in the nation. Winner of this goes into the college football playoff. Loser, they're mathematically. You know what? Alabama gets in with 3 losses, but these teams suck, right? So we're going to bury them out. So winner of this goes into the college football playoff. What are we thinking? Arizona State's favored by 1.5 right now. It's in Arlington, which I believe plays better for Arizona State. But people in Iowa want to get out of Iowa right now. So maybe they want to travel down to this game. So it might be a packed house for Iowa State for this one. How are we feeling about this one in the Dr. Pepper Big 12 championship game?
I have seen some Arizona State. I haven't watched a lot of Iowa State, so I'm kind of, on the fly seeing, they lose to Texas Tech and Kansas and there's your Kansas team back-to-back weeks there, towards the end of the year. And then they rattle off the last 3, including a win over Kansas State. Both these teams are, looking just at the over under 50. You expect some points in this game for sure. I feel like Arizona State, I mean, that last week is rivalry week, Arizona. I feel like they have a little bit more. I know Iowa State just beat Kansas State there, but I just feel like Arizona State has that juice right now that maybe Iowa State doesn't. Like I said, I don't know Iowa State too well. I mean, looking at the quarterback comparison, Iowa State's quarterback 20 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, over a little over 3,000 yards. Arizona State's quarterback only 2,400 yards, but 1 more touchdown and 3 less picks. So I mean, you can make comparisons there. One guy might throw for more yards, but turn the ball over more. One of those things. But like you said, Arizona State is the favorite. I am going to go Arizona State here. I think they're just on a little bit of a tear right now, and they get it done in this one.
I like that. I'm going to go Arizona State too right now. I think they're hot. They're hot coming in. That head coach is just nuts. He is absolutely ballistic. So I like that one. I'm going to take Arizona State too to win that one. So they will most like I would think, right? I don't know what the committee anymore, what they're going to do, but they probably should end up in the college football playoff. So next up, we have the SEC championship game, a little rematch from the butt kicking that we saw earlier on this year between Texas and Georgia there. We got Texas, number 2 in the nation, taking on Georgia. Right now, Texas is favored by 2.5. It's in Atlanta for this game, so a little home cooking for Georgia in this one. But we know Texas, they're going to travel. The fans will travel. So we'll see how this one ends up. I would be honest with you. I like Texas to get a little revenge in this game. I do. I think Texas is all around the better team. I don't like what Carson Beck's been doing as of late. Carson Beck, to me, he's the kryptonite that's going to hold Georgia back from being what I believe Georgia could actually be at some point this season. I think Georgia's got a pretty good team put together, and I just think Carson Beck is not the right quarterback to lead them through it. So I like Texas to win this game. I do think it's a close one, but I think that Sarkisian.
Close enough. Yeah, close.
Sarkisian, they're all the same. I think that he makes the adjustments in this game. Last game, that defensive line for Georgia just had a heyday. I think he's going to make the adjustments in this game here, get the job done, and I think Texas wins the SEC championship game in their first season in the SEC, which that is wow. I mean, talk about SEC teams getting kind of knocked around by a Big 12 dog. Here they come.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, Texas kind of having one of those years where it's like, wow, like they're legit. I mean, I put them as like a national champ. I mean, obviously any team in the college playoff is, realistically a college football championship team, but I mean, Texas, I think, has like an actual valid case for it. You know what I mean? Like there's some teams you can say, they're not going to win at all. I think Texas is obviously one of those teams. Part of me, like, I am so with you on the Carson Beck thing. Like, just watching that Georgia State game, watching I forget who Georgia get kind of beat badly by not that long ago. Was it not Ole Miss?
Well, technically, Alabama squared them up pretty well in that one game, but they were able to come back.
No, I was watching a lot of that Ole Miss game. I remember that, and I was like, I mean, I know that's one of their low lights on the season, but man, Carson Beck looked awful. The team, like. That team has the ability to kind of, when things go bad, I think they unravel at times. Georgia does. I mean, they found a way against Georgia Tech, but Georgia Tech is not Texas by any means, not even in the same stratosphere. So I know it's a big rivalry game, but that was, I mean, kind of, shell shocking to see how many overtimes, like 6 or whatever we were watching, 7, I think, because 8 was the record. So, I mean, I give the coaching advantage to Kirby Smart, but I just don't think that, like, with Carson Beck, I wouldn't be surprised if they win. I have, like, some gut feeling that they could pull this out, surprisingly. But Texas is the better team. They just need to show up and prove it, basically, for 60 minutes. So I'm going to go Texas, but I have, like, a weird feeling that, like, Georgia might do this for some reason, even though they're not – like, they shouldn't. But it's hard to count them out, no matter how Carson Beck looks.
No, I would agree. Kirby gets the boys up. He gets the boys up and he gets them going. So we'll kind of see what happens with that one. The big one, though, Aaron, the big one for you there. I was hoping John would be in tonight. I'm missing John tonight here to get Oregon wild up here. But we got number 3 Penn State taking on number 1 Oregon. wow, this could be a dogfight. This could be a dogfight in this one. At Lucas Oil Stadium there, Oregon is favored by 3.5 right now. I'll be honest. I think Penn State wins this game.
Wow.
I do. I think Penn State wins this game. I think if Franklin's smart, he goes and he looks back at the tape of what Wisconsin did defensively against Oregon. He looks back at that game and he says, what did they do? What did they do right? And you do that and you find, because if you do that and Wisconsin held their own, I know it was at home and I get that, but you have twice the players on that defensive line as what Wisconsin has. If you can find a way to limit that run game, I like Penn State in this one. And I think they have that ability to slow down this run game. Now, it's going to be a question. Can Drew Aller get going? Can Warrens be the guy that we know Warrens can be? It's going to be that kind of question leading into this one. But Penn State's got a lot of weapons. I know Oregon's got a lot of weapons. I'm not going to deny it. They have a lot of weapons. But I think if I'm going defensive front to defensive front, because I think that's where it's won, right? Trenches. You got to win the trenches. I think Penn State's got a heck of a defensive front. And I think they can own the trenches. I think they can in this one. I have never taken, I'm going to be honest with you, Aaron, I don't think I've taken Penn State very much. And I'm going to take Penn State to win this game over Oregon. I think they manhandle them in the trenches. Big Ten football is one of the trenches, and I think Oregon finds that out in this game here. And I think Penn State wins this one.
Wow. Yeah, now I literally can't pick. Or I mean, I don't pick against my own team very much. I mean, Penn State against anybody but like the elite of the elite. I mean, they're the best team at covering the spread over the last 5 years, which is kind of surprising. But this is one of the elite matchups, which I makes me completely nervous, to be honest with you. I am worried about. I mean, Penn State's offensive line this year has been better. I wouldn't say it's elite. It's been better than it has in few years past. I mean, 3-4 years ago, they couldn't even find an offensive line to save their lives, but at least now they can kind of find their way. But the reason I bring that up is Oregon can kind of get at you from a defensive front perspective as well. And they bring a lot of like exotic blitzes and just linebackers that here, there, everywhere. So I am worried about that. Where I do just slightly disagree with you, I worry about Penn State's weapons a lot in this game, only because if you don't have Singleton and Katron Allen going and Warren, where do you go? Because, I mean, Trey Wallace, he has that 150-yard game against against West Virginia there early in the season. Then he he's had his moments here and there. We thought Julian Fleming coming over from Ohio State, that was like, a godsend. He hasn't done much of anything other than the USC game. That is and Amari Evans has been, hit or miss. So those three guys, and Liam Clifford, who is, barely exists. So it's just those guys have to show up. If those guys don't show up, we're in deep, doo-doo. I'll put it that way. Oregon, I hear you from a Penn State defensive front. I think they'll get gashed at times like they did in the Ohio State game. I mean, there were times in the Ohio State game I was like, man, this defense sucks all of a sudden. But, they found a way. I think Ohio State ended up scoring 21. You kind of live with that in today's college football. But I don't want them to get in a shootout with Oregon. Like I said, I think they're going to go to Warrens a lot. And just that's what they do. And it's kind of like until that gets, stopped. I don't trust Aller to throw the game away. I just hope he does. He's going to have to shine. And like this is, to me, probably 250 to 300 yards you're going to have to put up against this team to win. And I am a little bit worried about the run game. So I'll pick Penn State, but this is really tough. What the fans are going to get bent out of shape if we lose this, like they're going to lose their mind if we lose this. It's not the end of the world. You're still in the college football playoff, but if you win this, I mean, that is like almost a program changing win, because then you can go to number one, get a bye. Recruiting would probably go crazy. So truth be told, I don't necessarily trust them to win this game, but I hope they do. And I think they have a chance to. It's just, like I said, if it's the Warren show and the running backs aren't doing a lot, we're in trouble. I'll put it that way.
I just like that defensive front. I just like that defensive front from Penn State. And I really do think a little piece of me still thinks the Big Ten is won in the trenches. And I think if Penn State can own the trenches, they can own this game. Just like you take that blueprint. Wisconsin gave you a blueprint. Take the blueprint. Because Wisconsin, all they were missing was a Drew Aller at quarterback, and they could have probably won that football game. So take what Wisconsin gave you, take the blueprint that they gave you, and put it into action here because you got twice the playmakers here. So we'll kind of see. I mean, that should be a good game. That is going to be a heck of a game, the 7:00 game. Same time, this one is going to be interesting because Clemson found their way into the ACC championship game. They're going to be playing for it all because if they lose, they're out of the college football playoff. If they win, they're in by default because they won their conference. So 9-3 Clemson taking on SMU, who this is where I'm going to hate the committee because it's going to piss me off. If SMU loses this game, they're out. They're out. They're out of the college football playoff. I guarantee it. They have 2 losses, but they're out because the ACC isn't as good as the SEC or the Big Ten. That's what they're going to tell me. That's how it's got to go. So this game has a lot riding on it for both these teams because I don't think SMU makes it with 2 losses because we look at Miami, they have 2 losses, and I don't even know, truthfully, how much you weigh championship games anymore. Because if SMU loses, it's not their fault, right? They earned the right to play in the conference championship game, but if they lose, now they have another loss on the resume. So now it's like it hurts them. It hurts them more. So it's like you don't even want to make your conference championship game because if SMU loses, they have 2 losses, and like we're talking here, they might not make the college football playoff. Miami's got 2 losses. They're already on the outside looking in. And I know you can only look at strength of schedule so much and everything like that. But I find it's ridiculous. It is ridiculous there. But SMU, Clemson, I don't know. Clemson, Dabo's been in big games before. He knows how to win big games. He knows how to win big games in the ACC. I do like Klubnik. I do like him. I think he's a fantastic quarterback there. He's had a fantastic season, 29 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. That's fantastic. I mean, you can't deny how well he's been playing. I think I'm going to take Clemson. I really do think I'm going to take Clemson. And then if Clemson wins this football game, it is going to throw the committee for a loop. They will not, they're not going to hear the end of it. We made this 12-team playoff because we thought it was going to get rid of the Florida States being upset that they didn't make it in. And I really think that if Clemson wins this football game, we're going to go back into a perspective of why does it matter if you win a conference championship game? Why do we not just take the top 12 teams in college football and put them in? Because in my opinion, if you have the record, if you are a top 12 team, you're in the college football playoff. That's how it works. The conference championships, I like that they get automatic bids. I do. But at this point, you have a 3-loss Clemson team who's going to get in there ahead of Miami and ahead of SMU if they get in. Like, it just, I don't want to say it's unfair because it sounds like a whiner's way out. But yes, Miami held their destiny in their hands. I'll say that because if they beat Syracuse, they were in this game. They lost that game to Georgia Tech too, who we knew Georgia Tech is a pretty darn good team because they took Georgia down to the ropes there in 8 overtimes or 7 overtimes, whatever it was. So we know Georgia Tech's a pretty darn good team. I mean, Miami held their destiny. They failed to make it happen, but I don't know. It's rough to think that a 3-loss team gets in ahead of a 2-loss team. Like, it's just, how do you control who you play? I mean, yes, you can schedule more, and it's a double-edged sword because then, okay, if you're Miami, you're like, okay, if we can't get it in with 2 losses because we played an ACC schedule, then if we get more non-conference games against Notre Dame and Alabama and Georgia, now we play a gauntlet now, and we lose those 3 games. Now we can't afford any losses in the ACC. It's a double-edged sword that I don't think you'll ever get figured out there. So either way there, Aaron, what are we thinking? Clemson, SMU.
I totally hear you from a perspective like Dabo's been in the big game. I mean, he has national championships on his resume. This, that, and the third. Man, this one's tough. Like, SMU is, still kind of a, Cinderella story. Just the fact that they're back in the grand scheme of things. and like you say, Klubnik's been good for Clemson. Man, this one to me, it might be the hardest one to like really get a good feel for, to be honest. I wanna go with Clemson, like for the reasons you're saying, for sure. I almost feel like SMU finds a way in this. I don't need. Let me get that out of there. Freaking ads. Yeah, I mean, I just feel like this could be like I mean, I'm not saying SMU is going to go all the way or anything, but like, it just feels like, this is not a Clemson team, obviously, that like has Trevor Lawrence or, Deshaun Watson. Like they're like I watched them against Pitt. I watched them a couple times this year. They're a scrappy team, but I don't think they're like flat out amazing. I feel like these teams probably match up pretty well. I don't know. I just feel like SMU finds a way. I wouldn't be surprised the other way around. I just feel like this is a coin flip, and like on this night, SMU, or on this day, SMU finds it.
I like that. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to SMU winning it. I wouldn't. I want to see them in the college football playoff because I think they deserve to get in there. And that's another team we were talking about before the show here. But if Oregon wins the Big Ten championship, if Texas wins the SEC championship, and if SMU wins the ACC championship, you're talking about three schools who weren't in those conferences last season going into those conferences and in the first year winning the conference championship. Like that would be nuts, because we look at the Big 12 as being less than the SEC or less than the Big 10, but yet, or the Pac-12 being less than the Big 10, but yet Oregon walks in there, and yes, I know Oregon's a good football team. Don't get me wrong. They're a good football team, but we look at that conference as less, but now Oregon walks in here and they're looking like they might win the Big Ten championship. Texas looking like they might win the SEC. Like it's so weird. It's so weird. And I think that was, Texas Tech's coach said that too. I think he said that he was in his presser and he was talking about that, like talking about the recognition that the Big 12 gets and what these conferences get, because you're looking at teams who were previously just in there going to these bigger conferences and winning those championships. And I know all these are good football teams, so that's undeniable, right? Texas is a great football team this season, and so is Oregon, and SMU has been playing great football. So there's no knocking any of those teams or knocking the conference that they're in, because those are still good conferences. It's just interesting that in a first season in those conferences, all three of those teams are up for the conference championship, and all three of those teams could walk away as conference champions. Like that's crazy. That is crazy right there. Even Arizona State. I mean, Arizona State, weren't they in the pack? Weren't they in the pack just last season there?
I think so. I'm always bad at like some of those pack teams. They just kind of get lost in the.
I'm trying to remember now. Now I'm thinking about it too hard. That's the biggest. It was Arizona State.
Was Arizona in the like?
They were in the pack. Arizona was in the pack.
So yeah, I think they had to have been then. They were definitely in conference, before, both of them in the same one. Is it
12 football standings 2023? Let's see. 2023, 2024. Oh, I don't want to look this up on air here, but yeah, Arizona State was in there last year. So Arizona State too. I mean, you're talking about 4 different conference championships with all those teams being previously in a different conference. So that's it. That's definitely interesting right now. And all those teams that are playing against them there are currently trying to save their conference and say like, hey, we're still here. Like we still run this conference. So, I mean, interesting storyline there, but we'll see what happens in those conference championship games coming up here this weekend. They start up tonight here. Army up on Tulane right now. Boise State up right now. I was going to check in on Wisconsin volleyball just in case nobody else can see it out there like myself. Wisconsin volleyball, it's currently, my thing says it's still in the 4th set. I think it's still in the 4th set right now. Right now, Wisconsin is up 22-20 in the 4th set right now. They are up 2-1. So we'll see what kind of happens there and see if Wisconsin can pull off the win here in set 4 and move on in the college volleyball tournament there. Good stuff there from Wisconsin volleyball. But Aaron, let's flip gears here. Let's flip gears. I want to talk about some Wisconsin Marquette. Oh, the rivalry, right? They're back. They're back at it. One more year, another year of this rivalry between Wisconsin and Marquette. The series record right now is 71-59. Wisconsin is on top right now. So they've won 71 times out of 71-59 right now there. Marquette coming into this game, they lost that game the other night there to Iowa State. Wisconsin dropped the game to Michigan. Both these teams have one loss coming into this game right now. I mean, that is like fuel to the fire, right? It's like if Marquette would have came in with no losses on the season so far and Wisconsin had no losses, both teams trying to stay undefeated. Wisconsin dropped one. They were going to be hungry for another win, but now Marquette dropped one. So now you got two teams hungry for another win coming into this one. And you have guys on this Marquette team like Cam Jones, like Joplin, who have never beat Wisconsin. Well, they've been playing at Marquette. They're all seniors, but they've never beat Wisconsin yet. They're 0-3 against Wisconsin. If Wisconsin wins this one, they would have not beat Wisconsin in all 4 tries. They have 4 tries and haven't beat them yet. So, I mean, we're hoping for it, right? We're hoping for it there. But this is a game. Marquette's a good basketball team. They've been proving it throughout the past couple of years. They're a pretty darn good basketball team. They're averaging 82 points a game right now. I mean, they're playing well. They're playing well right now. Rebounds, 34 rebounds per game, 47% from the floor there. All eerily, I mean, you look at the two teams put together there, they're eerily similar in stats across the board there. So both teams coming in this one, been playing well to start this season. Both had a hiccup there as of late, but we'll see what happens in this one. I mean, Aaron, going into this game here, Wisconsin, the two biggest guys for me for the Badgers heading into this game against Marquette here, Steven Crowell, Max Klesman. Max Klesman, last time out there against Michigan, struggled, and he's been struggling this season. He's been struggling mightily this season for him. So Max Klesman, he's hit big shots in this series here against Marquette. He's hit some big shots. This is a game where Max Klesman's got to be a guy. He's got to be a guy. I don't expect him to lead the team. I don't expect him to be that one guy, the big guy, right? But he's got to be a guy in this game. He's got to be able to knock down shots because they're going to leave him open. Marquette teams are actually shooting a boatload of threes against Marquette. I was just looking at that earlier. They want you to shoot threes. I mean, teams are actually shooting about 40% of their shots are from the perimeter. So they want you to shoot threes. They're going to give you threes. That's where a guy like Max Klesman's going to step into this one. That's where a guy like John Tonje, Blackwell, Kamari McGee, you're going to have different guys, Janicki coming off the bench. Those guys have got to be able to knock down the open shots when they're there because they're going to be there. Just a matter if they can do it in this one. Steven Crowell, last time out, he did not play like he was an upperclassman. Got into foul trouble, played kind of down on himself. Steven Crowell has got to be a factor in this one. He's got to be a factor in the paint. He's got to own the paint. He's got to be a big factor on the offensive end in this one here. And the Badgers need their bigs to be able to shoot it from the outside because right now teams are not respecting their ability to shoot it. We know Crowell can shoot it. We know Winter can shoot it. They got to be able to knock down shots in this game here. So we're going to see those two on full display. The Badgers, I don't want to say they bank on foul calls, but they somewhat bank on foul calls there. They got to find ways to score without the foul calls. Last time out against Michigan there, it seemed like at times they were driving looking for the foul. I get it. You want to get the foul called, and that's sometimes why you drive, but you got to be able to score through contact too. You got to, the biggest thing that I see with guys, and this is at all levels, is they drive in there and they expect a foul. They don't look to score. They're expecting a foul. You got to go in there looking to score in this one because if they ain't calling them, you're not going to be able to get to the free throw line. And that's going to affect this team because we watched the Arizona game. We've watched some of the other games. They put the Badgers to the line 10 plus times. And the Badgers, they're great at the line, but you got to get there. So you got to earn those trips to the stripe there. So you got to be able to drive with a purpose. And when you get in there, look to score. Don't look to get fouled. Look to score in this one. So that's kind of what I'm looking at in this one. Marquette, some of their stats on the season, 11.4 steals per game and 9 turnovers. So this is a team that they get after you. They're going to steal the basketball. Now, the flip of the coin there, Wisconsin doesn't turn the basketball over a lot, right? And knock on wood, it doesn't start in this game here because Badgers, that's one of my keys. They got to control the basketball in this one. They have to limit what Marquette can do in the fast break in this one here. They got to play to their pace. Now, I know Wisconsin is playing a little more up-tempo this season, and they want to get out and run. They want to do that kind of thing, but you got to play within your own in this game here. Nothing stupid. Nothing stupid. Like, that's the biggest thing. Nothing stupid in this one. They're shooting about 34% from downtown, 47% from the field, like I said before there. I mean, this is a team, they can shoot it. We know they can shoot it. Cam Jones is having a fantastic year so far, 19 points a game so far, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 42% from 3, 58% from the field. So we know Cam Jones can score it. So this is a guy you got to watch out for there. David Joplin's been fantastic, 15 points a game and 6 rebounds. And you got Mitchell and Ross in there too. But you have guys, I believe Ross is banged up. going into this game. He had an ankle injury against Iowa State. So I don't know if Chase Ross is going to play. Shaka Smart says he is. We'll kind of wait and see with that what kind of transpires. I don't know if he will. He's listed as doubtful. Doubtful doesn't tell me anything. He's either in or out. I don't know if he's in or out. So we'll wait and see on that one. Also, Zayd Lowry is banged up going into this one too. So you have two guards for him there banged up. So we'll see kind of what Marquette does. They're going to play some young guys to try and make up for that. They have depth. They definitely have depth. They like to go about 10. They have about 10 guys. 10 guys who can play on this basketball team. So they like to push it. They like to run with it. They're going to get after you. This is a game where Wisconsin is going to be tested with their patience. You got to be patient with this game here because Marquette's going to look to run and they're going to look to push you in different ways to get turnovers and everything like that. This is the first road test for the Badgers on the season so far. Yes, they went on the road and they played those neutral site games, but this is the first road test. And the Badgers last season were 3 of 9. They were 3-9 on the road last season. 3-9. That's not a great road record. You want to be up close to, if not 500. 3-9 ain't going to get it done. You already lost the game at the Kohl Center to Michigan, which we talked about. Yeah, can't lose Big Ten games at home. Now you go on the road to Marquette. This is going to be a big one for that. And I mean, all in all, this Marquette team is a pretty darn good basketball team. You got to limit turnovers in this one. You got to control the paint on both ends of the floor, control the rebounding battle. Like I said, Max Klesmit's got to get going here. You got to try and limit Cam Jones in this one. Limit what he can do. He's a great facilitator of the basketball. He's a great scorer. You got to limit what he can do in this game. Make somebody else beat you. And those are some of my biggest keys for this one here, Aaron. I mean, is there anything you're seeing between these two squads that you're like, this is what the Badgers got to do to win this game?
Yeah, looking at, I mean, you mentioned a lot of the stats already, but I will say, with Wisconsin there, like you already said how comparable these two teams are. Wisconsin being, I mean, this is not a stat you're gonna like, but just reading it off here, Wisconsin 229th in the nation at 32.2 rebounds per game. But then if you look at Marquette, they're actually worse. So Marquette averages 31.3, 265th in college basketball. Ooh. There you go. Volleyball pulled it out.
Did they? They got the win?
Facebook comment coming in.
There we go. We go. That's my grandma right there. Thanks for that, Grandma. Grandma's in on the chat tonight here.
Love it. We need somebody to get it started there. There's, tumbleweeds blowing through on the chat line there. But no, I mean, as much as we've kind of talked about Wisconsin not being able to rebound the basketball, Marquette's worse. So, I mean, you figure there, if Wisconsin can get the rebounding under control in this game, that's a massive advantage. Now, Marquette averages 3.3 more threes than their opposition, basically. So that's good. And at 10.2, that's 29th in college basketball, and they limit their opponents to about 6.9. As you said, they do allow them to shoot it. If you're Wisconsin, you want to make those threes when they do give them to you. So this is interesting. I mean, there's a lot of the spread on this game is pretty lopsided. 7.5. That's a little surprising. I mean, I know Wisconsin coming off the loss, but outside of that game, I mean, they've were undefeated. So both teams obviously one loss on the season. It's, I mean, trying to pull a couple more things. Marquette's outscoring opponents by 17.3 points per game. But a lot of those type of stats to me are, who have you played? It's early in the season. Like, can you really take those, completely serious? I don't know. But, and then you flip it to Wisconsin averaging or beating opponents by about 13.9. So call it 14. So both teams, when they win, are winning, rather comfortably there. So that's something to look at least keep in mind. And then Wisconsin averages 105 points per 100 possessions. Kind of a weird stat there, but that's good for 29th in college basketball. But they do give up 88 points per 100 possessions. So that's another thing too. I think, the way Wisconsin's played this year is just kind of like balls to the walls on offense and then not enough defense, I would say, up to this point. You want to limit a team like it's going to be hard, right? We're talking about how good Marquette is offensively, but I don't know if I love, if Wisconsin gets an absolute shootout. I mean, you're going to need like Tanjay and the crew to really show up then. I mean, they could still win that way. It's just if you can own the glass and keep Marquette, relatively at bay off the scoreboard, that I think is a better way to win. But I mean, if you got to win this way, you got to win this way. It's definitely going to be a test, I think, on Wisconsin. Like this is clearly at least Wisconsin's disadvantage is also Marquette's disadvantage with the rebounding. But who can kind of just throw up more points probably at the end of this.
Yeah, no, and that's where I think Steven Crowell comes in big time for the Badgers in this one. Is you got to own that glass. You got to control the paint in this one against Marquette because they're going to try to own it. They're going to try to take Wisconsin. Their ability to drive, the ability to get inside that paint, they're going to try to take it away in this one, which is what Michigan did with that size. So we're going to see kind of what Shaka Smart draws up there. I mean, the pick and roll hurt the Badgers in the last one. I don't know if it'll hurt them as bad in this game against Marquette. They're going to try and run the pick and roll, but you're not going to be doing it with a 7-footer in Danny Wolf and a 7-footer in Golden there and trying to defend both those guys. Cause that was just nuts. I mean, that's an impressive, I mean, to have a guy who's 7 foot like Danny Wolf was in that Michigan game and he's out there running the point, like it was wild. And he's a fantastic basketball player. So Michigan's definitely got a good one over there. And if people are not I know Marquette fans are like, you guys lost to Michigan. And I'm like, shut up. Like if you guys watch Michigan basketball like this, Michigan is a good basketball team. Like I don't like Michigan. So don't get me wrong. Like I hate giving props to teams when I don't like them. But Michigan is a good basketball team this season. And Dusty May is a fantastic basketball coach coming up from FAU. He was fantastic there. He comes up. He's been fantastic for Michigan so far. And he just outcoached. He made the adjustments and outcoached Greg Gard in that game. And we talked about adjustments and everything like that. And I'm not trying to, fire up the fire Greg Gard crowd because I know I'm going to fire him up here if I start, talking about Greg Gard getting outcoached. But I mean, he did. I thought that Dusty May made the adjustments in that game. And that's what hurt the Badgers deep down the stretch there. So we'll kind of see this should be a good one. And I can't wait for it. Tomorrow there, I believe it's a 12:30 start, if I'm not mistaken there. 12:30 start there on Fox. Maybe we'll get Gus Johnson. Maybe no. What other game is on Fox that day? What other game? There's got to be a football game on there.
Yeah. Well, let me see.
I don't know who else is on. I was going to check that. Because Gus, he does call basketball games. He does.
Yeah. And other than the Penn State game being on CBS, all the other games are on ABC. So quite possibly Gus Johnson. No Fox football tomorrow.
I know, because I was gonna say Jeff Levering. He does FS1, so it won't be Jeff Levering. Who's gonna be calling it? Jeff Levering and Jim Jackson. Jeff Levering and Jim Jackson will be calling the Marquette game against Wisconsin Saturday, December 7th. Okay, so it's going to be Jeff Levering and it's going to be Jim Jackson. So, I mean, we got Jeff. He's a Wisconsin guy. He loves his Brewers, so we'll see. I mean, should be a great game. Should be a great game, Wisconsin, Marquette. Hopefully, we're talking about a Badgers win coming back here on Sunday there, and we're all rejoicing that Marquette fans are down in the dumps once again because it brings me nothing but joy to hear Marquette fans freak out. I read an article today by a Marquette guy. And he wrote it was 3 paragraphs. I kid you not, 3 paragraphs about why John Tonje's not actually that good, but he's just shooting a lot of free throws this season. So that's why he's that good. And he shouldn't be up for player of the year because he shoots all these free throws and that's why he's good and everything like that. I'm like, I forgot. Are free throws part of a game of basketball? Is getting to the free throw line a part of the game of basketball? Is he shooting 44% from downtown on the season? I forgot. Is that the same John Tonje that you're talking about? Because the John Tonje I'm talking about is averaging 22 points a game, and I'm pretty sure he's shooting 51% from the floor, and he's shooting, I believe, 44% from downtown. So, free throws are a big part of the game, but let's check the stats out there, Marquette fellows, before you get all frisky here on my boy John Tonje. That I don't know if you saw it, Aaron, but the other night, that he threw down the hammer against Michigan. And oh my goodness, was that electric. I know they ended up losing, so it doesn't really have the same extent on that one, but holy cats, he brought the hammer back. I think he tried for the windmill or something on that one, but I didn't expect him to throw the hammer down. I saw the defense I can't remember who's coming down with him there from Michigan. And I was like, he's going to, get fouled or something like that, or pass the ball off. And all of a sudden he just chucks the hammer down. And I'm like, oh, wow, this guy's got something in the bag of tricks. This guy's good. So, I mean, he's fantastic. So Marquette fans, you can shove it. That's what I'm going to tell you now. You can shove it.
here you go, Trajan. If this makes you feel any better, because I'm just looking at kind of like the demographics of both universities there. Wisconsin acceptance rate around 49%. Take a guess on what Marquette's acceptance. So not to say this guy is uneducated, like I don't want to go that far, but
they're probably up in like the 60s. They give about 60%, 65.
You're being generous. It's 87% acceptance rate. So that rivals like West Virginia. I know West Virginia is one of the easiest schools to get into in the country, but that's a big. So maybe those guys over in Marquette, they're just not as witty as the Wisconsin crowd. Put it that way.
They just don't know, man. They just don't know. John Tanji is coming down the tracks, boys, and you better watch out because this guy balls out. This guy balls out. And if he smiles, you're screwed. That's all I'm going to say there. So Badgers Marquette coming up on tomorrow there, 12:30 start there on Fox. Jeff Levering, Jim Jackson on the call. Love me some Jeff Levering on the call there. So should be a good one there. Can't wait. Can't wait for that one tomorrow there on Fox. So Aaron, let's get to our fact of the day. And then we'll get to the Packers Lions because we haven't talked Packers and Lions yet. Let's get a little fact of the day in there. What do we got for this day, December 6th?
Yeah. So on this, I kind of want to give you one from yesterday real quick, if you don't, because this is a big sports fact. I'll tell you that. On December 5th, real quick, O.J. Simpson was sentenced to, at the time, 33 years in prison. He later got out 9 years. 9 years later, he got out on parole. So that is, I mean, talk about a guy that, no longer with us. So I don't want to talk too badly about the dead, but he got away with literal murder, I think. So that's just my little take on that. But what do you think?
Did the glove fit?
I mean, what if the glove didn't fit? You must come. Forget what you must come.
I don't know. I don't know. That was so like. I forgot. I honestly forgot about him, and then all of a sudden he was back. So like I don't even know. I don't even know. He might have done it. He might have not done it. I'm guessing he did it, but like I don't even know.
So sometimes I'll just compare the days of like, okay, what happened on this day, and like I had to. I mean, O.J. Simpson. That was one of the biggest stories of this country, really, if you look at it. But on this day, shift gears a lot less depressing, right? A lot less depressing. Weird fact, but a fact nevertheless. Starbucks opened its largest cafe in the world in Shanghai at 29,000 square feet, which is half the size of a football field. So that's just like mind numbing. All of that combined is crazy. It's a fact, obviously, but it's in 2017 there. So Starbucks is a superpower, man. I mean, I can't deny it. They own the coffee space, I think. Honestly,
it owns my bank account too.
I like Dunkin'. I'm a value guy. I'm cheap, but I mean Starbucks. If they're gonna sell a $7 cup of coffee, people will buy it if it's from Starbucks. I don't think they'd buy it if it was from Dunkin'. I'll put it that way.
Anything with pumpkin spice, sugar cookie, anything like that drives people nuts. They just get all kinds of fired up. So, I mean, it's wild. They own my bank account. That's all I know. They own my bank account. That will be it. So, if they went away, it'd be okay with me. It would just be okay.
That's the thing. That's like Ohio State. They're not. Unfortunately, we want them to go away, but it feels like they never will.
Ohio State wants Ryan Day to go away, but he ain't.
They do. They do.
Like same concept. We're all talking about the same thing here. So let's get some Packers and Lions talk. We talked about the Packers Lions game a little bit there. 34-31 was the final in that one. I mean, there were bits and pieces of this that I liked, that I disliked, right? The biggest thing, and I know everybody, the reffing, there were missed calls. There were missed calls. There was calls that I didn't think should have been made. There were calls that weren't made. Like, there was bad calls in this game. I'm not going to sit here and blame the reffing, though. I don't want to blame the reffing. The Packers' start in this game was absolutely atrocious. I mean, you want to talk about how to lose a football game, you start out the way. Lions get the ball first. They go down the field. They score a touchdown. Like, that's just how they did it. Then you look at the Packers. Punt, punt, fumble. Those are their first three drives. Punt, punt, fumble. Then they got going. They got that touchdown there. And then, Lions went back, scored themselves, end of the half, right? So that's kind of how the whole first half played out there. Then the second half, the offense came out. They were hot. Touchdown to start the second half there. Got the pick. Then they scored another touchdown there. Then the Lions went down and scored a touchdown. I mean, the second half, the offense picked it up, but the problem was it took a quarter and a half, once again, for the offense to settle into this game, to get settled into this game. And the Lions, we talked about it. They were banged up on the defensive front. They were banged up on the defense. And they came out in this game and they hit the Packers hard right off the bat there. I mean, the offensive line, I was really going into this game, I was like, the Packers offensive line can handle it. They can handle this front for the Lions. They couldn't handle him to start in this one. I mean, Jordan Love was constantly under pressure, and he made some throws. He made some throws late under pressure there, but they were constantly in his face. They were controlling the run game. I mean, it wasn't a great start. And that's where I thought was one of the biggest problems to start this one. But my biggest question, so I'm going to ask the question, and I think we'll start here and then we'll talk about the game. Did we come out of this game believing the Packers can beat anyone? They can beat anyone in this NFC. Did we come out of this game believing that one? Because people right now are saying the Packers are kind of frauds, right? They're kind of frauds. They're 9-4. They haven't beat a team that's ahead of them. They didn't beat the Eagles. They lost to the Lions twice, and they lost to the Vikings. They beat everybody else. They beat everybody else they're supposed to beat, right? They won. They beat all the teams in the AFC South. They beat the Bears. They've won all these games that they're supposed to win, but they haven't beat anybody in front of them. So people are like, they're frauds. They haven't beat anybody good yet, and blah, 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 blah. My pushback on that. Okay. The Eagles game, first game out, lost that game by 5. It was a pretty good football game. Sure, the Packers have probably won that game. Yeah, if they played their best game, but I didn't think they played their best game in that one. So the Packers lose that one. The Vikings game, Jordan Love comes back off of injury. He's coming back. And they started, what were they down, like 28-0 at one point in that game? Like they were getting the crap beat out of them. They come back, and that's, again, the offense takes a while to get going. They finally get going, and they end up losing that game by 3. You look at that game against the Lions. Offense struggles once again. Jordan Love throws that costly pick 6, 24-14. Now in this one, 34-31, the Packers offense starts slow once again. They start out slow. They take a while to get going in this one. The defense did enough. They didn't play great. There's definitely, I'm going to talk about it here later on in this talk here, but they definitely have holes on that defense, right? But they played good enough. They held the Lions while the offense was struggling. They held the Lions to a 17-7 halftime score. Like, it wasn't like if the defense didn't show up and they absolutely were atrocious, that could have looked a lot worse going into the half. But 17-7, they got off the field. They got a 4th down stop. Yes, we're going to talk about the 4th downs, but they got one. They did their thing. They bent, but they didn't break in that first half. Second half, there was moments, right? They couldn't get a stop. They didn't get that one key stop. So I guess, to go back to my question there, Aaron, what do you think? Did we come out of that game believing this Packers team could go on the road in the playoffs and they could beat the Lions, maybe whatever it is, the Vikings or Lions? I think the Lions will win the division yet, but the Lions, could they go on the road and get a playoff win?
This Packers team is hard for me to like. One time I'm all the way in. One time I'm not all the. I've never been all the way out on them this year. It's the thing that outside of I saw your tweet last night about Tucker Kraft. Like I like Tucker Kraft a lot, but outside of let's look at this again here. Outside of like Christian Watson balls out last night. He catches that one deep ball. But can you? I'm starting to not lose faith in this receiving core, but maybe I don't like it as much. I almost the way I came away from this game was, what if Jordan Love had a true number one? That's what I was thinking. What if they had their, George Pickens, or they had their Antonio or AJ Brown, just a guy that for a fact every week's going to give you, a certain amount of yards like that. That's where I'm not concerned, because I like Jordan Love's upside. I think he played. Given the circumstances, I know the yards weren't there, but, like you said, he was getting blitzed. The guy had no time, half the time he stepped back there. So, there were things I definitely didn't love, but I think it's a little daunting. The Lions found a way to beat them twice. I thought they would find a way to win this one. I'm not saying it's the end of the world, because honestly, another thing I thought was, after they lost this is, okay, let's say you see the Lions again. How likely is it they beat you 3 times in 1 year? So I was thinking maybe that's a good thing, in a weird way. Not not the best way. But I mean, if you lose the division but beat them in the playoffs, I'll take that trade off any day of the week. Like, screw the division, who cares? As long as you win in the playoffs. I thought Josh Jacobs, you look at the stat line, like 3 touchdowns. Yeah, it's amazing. It's just they didn't seem to really find the running game as consistently as I thought, they would either. I mean, he averaged a little less than 4 yards a carry. Not bad, but it wasn't like, it just felt like the Lions kind of controlled that as well. The Packers did kind of clamp down on their backs to a certain degree, though. I mean, Montgomery averaged less than Jacobs there at 3.6, and then Jahmyr Gibbs really didn't do much of anything. I mean, less than 3 yards a carry. So that you feel good about. That I think you can that'll travel if their run defense can show up like that. That's what you like. But I just thought, I mean, obviously no Romeo Doubs in this one. I just like Jane Reed didn't even have a catch on the game. I just worry about that a little bit. I do worry about that going against some of these teams in the NFC. It's like, okay, can you completely rely on it's almost like, when Tiger Woods was golfing, it was like Tiger versus the field. It's kind of like the Packers are the field when it comes to the receivers because it's a combination of everybody. But, I mean, I don't think they played bad. It's just I can't lie to you. The line, like after this game, I am like, wow, the Lions just they definitely got calls, and we talked about how we felt about that. That could have been the differentiating factor, unfortunately, in my opinion, just because those calls were massive and when they came in. But now you almost kind of have to play through that and the other team at times. But I mean, they can beat anybody. It's just it's gonna take it takes a lot because you need everybody basically to show up.
Okay, so here's my pushback. The receiving core, I agree. A lot of people, they're like, Jane Reed, 0 catches. Like, that can't happen. He can't be 0 catches in the game. Here's my thing, okay? The Packers, they don't have that number one, right? They don't have a Pickens or A.J. Brown or one of those kinds of guys. They don't have that guy. They have a collection of guys. They have a collection of guys where it's like one guy's good at this, the next guy. Christian Watson's good at the big hitter. He's your big hitter guy. But Dontavian Wicks is your underneath guy. Romeo Doubs is we're in a crunch. We need a first down. He's my hands. That's my guy I'm going to. Jaden Reed's my special. He's like my Swiss Army knife. He can do all those little things. So, yes, would it be nice to get Jaden Reed the ball? Sure. Yeah, it would be 100%. It'd be nice if all these guys could have a catch. But the way that they play complementary football, I don't think it's going to happen, right? I mean, we talk about, okay, let's just say Romeo Doubs played, right? Doubs plays. So Wicks doesn't have a catch. Well, then we're like, well, why doesn't Wicks have the ball? And then it's wait, Doubs didn't have a catch this game, but Reed had, 15. Well, okay, why didn't Doubs have a catch? When you play the Packers way, the way that they want to play the game, it's so complimentary. Where it's like, we were talking about for weeks, we're like, how is Tucker Kraft not have a catch, right? Over a couple games, we're like, this guy has 0 catches. Like, he's one of the better tight ends. Why does he not have a catch? And in this game, we see 3 catches. The week before, he had a couple big catches, right? So it's like, well, you go week by week. And I think that's how the Packers are going to be. You're going to go through a 2-game stretch where it's like, Jaden Reed doesn't have any catches. But then all of a sudden, he's going to have 8 for 150, right? I don't think you're ever going to see a Packers wide receiver who just completely goes, just ballistic one game. He might, but it's going to be hard because you have so much talent. You have so many guys in there who do those different things, right? Like I said, Watson's your big hitter. Wicks, he stepped up. 4 catches on 5 targets. We were talking about Wicks with the drop problem there. They trusted him late in the game here, and he set them up in the red zone for that. I mean, yes, it got that pass interference call on Christian Watson there, but he set them up in the red zone with a couple of nice catches, a couple of big plays. That was great. That was great to see. Tucker Kraft with a couple of big catches. I mean, yes, you want to see a guy where you have a go-to guy. And I think they did miss Doubs because I think I tweeted out or I mentioned it there to somebody. I said, that one, they ran a slant route to Christian Watson. He dropped it. And I was like, that's Doubs. Like, that's his thing. That's Doubs' thing. Like the slant route, the quick hitter, that's Doubs. He's got the great hands. He's got that ability. So you were missing that piece. I think I came out of this one, and we do have one on the text in line there that said, are the Packers still playoff contenders with that loss? 100%. 100%. You look at this game, you had 2, 4th and goals where they scored a touchdown. You get one stop. One stop. That's your difference. That's your difference in this game. You get one stop. You get that stop on 4th and inches. Now that's tough. That's tough to get a stop on 4th and inches there. But you get one of those 4th and goal stops. That's your difference in this ball game here. That's your complete difference in this ball game. The offense doesn't start out slow like they did. Maybe they go and they kick a field goal on one of them first drives. The punt, fumble, right? They were driving on that fumble, right? Christian Watson just caught a big pass there. He was going down the sideline. He made kind of I thought it was silly. He tried to make a move. He left himself exposed, left the ball exposed, got punched up from behind. It happens, right? It happens, but that's big time. That fumble was big time there because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, after that fumble, the Lions got a field goal. They kicked a field goal out of that drive. So no fumble there. That's your 3-point difference in this one. So that's big. That's a big time play right there. So, I don't come out of this game thinking to myself, man, the Lions, they just own the Packers. Like, they just own them. Yes, they've won how many games in a row against the Packers? I agree. Yes, the Packers haven't proven that they can beat the Lions. I will agree with that. And I will agree the Lions are still the top team in the NFC, possibly the NFL. I will agree with that. But there's some cracks in that armor that is on the Detroit Lions. There's some cracks. And the Packers have exposed it. They showed it. And right now, if you put the Eagles up against the Lions right now, I don't think that we're seeing the Lions come out of that as a clear-cut favorite to win. And I don't even know if they win that game right now. Because if you look at the last few games the Lions have played, the Bears should have won that game. They failed. They screwed up themselves. Now, yes, they probably, maybe would have went to overtime and we don't know what would have happened from there or anything like that. But there's a possibility that they win that football game, right? The Texans game, right? The Texans exposed this Lions defense early on in that one. They were blowing them out the water. And then the Lions came back and they won that football game. Now, it tells you a lot about a football team when they can come back, they can win these kinds of games. I'm not saying anything against them. Like I'm saying, the Lions are a great football team. I'm not denying that. They are a great football team. But I did not come out of this game thinking the Packers are not able to beat one of these teams. I am full and well. Do I think the Packers are as good as the Lions or Eagles? No, I don't. I don't think so. I think the Eagles are better. I really do. And I think the Lions are better. But could the Packers go on the road to one of those, to Ford Field or out to Philly and win that football game? Yeah. I completely think so. Jordan Love, and a lot of people are going to say, well, how is the, expensive man there from Green Bay? How is he only throwing 12, having 12 for 20 day for 208? They don't want him to throw the ball a lot. Now, it's weird. I think it's weird, right? But if you look at his last how many games, Jordan Love isn't throwing the football a lot. Yeah, 12 for 20, he only had 12 completions on the game. Not great, right? It's not great. But the Packers aren't asking Jordan Love to throw the football a lot. They have Josh Jacobs. They have a complimentary football team. They don't want Jordan Love. They don't want to say, here, Jordan, take this on your back, lead us to a win. They will ask him to do that, and he showed he could do that. Look at some of the throws he made last night. The most impressive one I saw was that one, I can't remember who was coming on the rush there, but he avoided the rush, stepped up, made a fantastic throw to Christian Watson, and just a dot. It was beautiful. And it was I can't believe that people can watch that and still tell me, face to face, this guy is not a good quarterback. This guy is a fantastic quarterback. And if they put the workload on him, I think he could be fine. I really do. But that's not how they play. They want to get Josh Jacobs involved. They want to do those little things with the run game. Because the run game is where it starts for Green Bay. It's always been, if you can get the run game going, the pass game will follow. And yes, I think they have the ability to pass with teams, but why would you? If you have a Josh Jacobs in the backfield, why are you trying to pass the ball 40 times a game? If Jordan Love throws it 40 times, I think we lost. I really do. Because otherwise, if we didn't lose, we're in a gunslinging battle for some reason. We're not even trying to run the football. And I really do think you have to establish it with Josh Jacobs. So I look at this 12 for 20 from Jordan Love. I don't think it's not telling me that Jordan Love is not a good quarterback. And anybody who wants to sit there and argue that is just, I can argue with you. But if you watch some of those throws, some of the plays that he makes, extending plays, running the football last night there, extending plays out and everything, he's a darn good quarterback. He is a darn good quarterback. And I will die on that hill that he is a darn good quarterback. This guy's fantastic. And now we're finally seeing Jordan Love not injured, right? And I was listening to Bill Michaels the other day, and he said, is this the most important game of the year for the Packers? Is this the most important game against the Lions? And I thought right away, I was like, yeah, it's got to be the most important. And he said, no. He said the most important game was the Eagles week 1. And I was like, well, why? And he said it. I was like, why? Why would the Eagles be the most important? And he said, because Jordan Love got hurt. And he said that delayed the progress and the chemistry and everything of this team building throughout the season because he was injured. And you weren't able to see what he could do week 2, week 3. This team build together week 2, week 3. You got Malik Willis, and I'm not saying Malik Willis didn't play great because he played great. Like Malik Willis did what he had to do, and the Packers got wins. And that's all you can ask for. I'm not taking a knock on anybody. But I completely agree with what he was saying there. That this team, I think they missed out on that little period there, and they got a slow start. And that's not to take away from this game here, because this game, it was, essentially the Lions, they played their kind of football. They played gritty football, and they got a win. And the Packers, I thought, honestly, in this one, they matched the physicality for a while there. I thought they did. Usually I get back to this point where I'm like, the Packers just don't play physical. They don't play smash mouth, hard nose, like we're going to beat you and we're going to beat you up while we do it kind of football. And I thought in this one, there was some fire and there was some chippiness too. Quay Walker got flagged for that. What's his nuts? I can't remember. I think it was, that offensive lineman who was, I think he wasn't even supposed to play, but the other guy was out. I can't remember. It was like Tucker, maybe something like that, but he flopped. He's shoving with Quay Walker there and he flops over when Quay Walker shoves him back. And then they throw the flag on Quay Walker. But I was like, yeah, I like that. Show some that you want this, that you're ticked off. Right. And then, the one that there's one call before I flip it to you there, Aaron, about this game a little bit there, but there was one call that I thought they blatantly missed. And Xavier McKinney, Amon-Ra St. Brown comes out to block Xavier McKinney and completely just blows his helmet off of his head, just blows it off his head. And McKinney's looking around and he's like, what just happened? And I have never, there's a lot of plays in this game and Matt LaFleur was ticked. And I love that. I love that Matt was on the sideline and he was arguing for his guys because they ran, and I saw a couple times in this one, they ran that same pick that they called Christian Watson for. I think it was a pick. Was it to Sam Laporta? Sam Laporta ran it, and I think Gibbs caught it on the outside there. But they ran the same kind of pick, and Matt LaFleur was just ticked off because he's like, they're running the same crap that we tried to run. And I can't even tell you the way that Laporta, I think it was Laporta, and I could be wrong. And if anybody out there in the comments if it was different, just let me know. But I think it was Laporta. But when he set that pick, he stood there like he was setting a pick. But when Christian Watson did it, he tried to run through. He ran through the play, and he was a yard off a line of scrimmage. He ran through the play. Kirby Joseph ran into him, and then he still continued to run his route after getting hit, which made me even more believe that it wasn't even a pick. Now, it might have been a pick. I don't know. I didn't watch the press conference. Maybe it was. But there was calls where I was like, why? It just sucks. But I don't think the reffing was the main reason why the Packers lost this game. I really do. I'm going to trace it back to the slow start. I'm going to trace it back to the slow start by this team once again. And I think that's what killed them in this one. Because like I said, you trade blows with them early on and you score a touchdown back, at 7-7. This is a different game. This looks different down the stretch there. You come away with 7. I really do think if you come away with 7, on that, the Christian Watson pass interference play, you come away with 7 there instead of a field goal. You might have won. You might have won this game because the Lions, yes, they were moving the football against you, but who knows? Do they score a touchdown there on that? They had to go for 4th down. Do they score a touchdown? I don't know. It completely changes the whole dynamic of that drive. So, it's a big what if kind of statement there. What if, the Packers got to stop on 4th and goal? Then what happens? I live in this what if world apparently with Wisconsin sports there. But Aaron, what are you thinking off this game here? You heard my big spiel about this Packers team there. Was there things that you liked that you didn't like about this Packers offense, defense, whatever you saw in this game here?
Yeah, I like how, in the second half is how they should have. You're not going to have every game that you start well, but like you alluded to, starting a game slow, I every team I've ever liked does that. It seems like, the Eagles are known to do that last season. kind of have figured it out this year, but still there's those times where they don't. So that's one thing you gotta fix that. Like, you give up a touchdown, you at least got to go down there and put 3 on the board. Like, and I don't even love 3, but if you can knot that thing up, like you said, different ball game. I thought at time, I mean, it's tough, right? It's tough to defend Detroit with all their, Jahmyr Gibbs, Marseille Brown running all over the place. Like, it's a lot to be accounting for, defensively there. But that was, difficult for them. And I'm not going to say it wouldn't be difficult for anybody, but it just was. But like I said, after the first half was over, start the second half, they came out like how you want a team to come out that's behind you, right? Like, they come out, they score a touchdown, they force Jared Goff into an interception. That's where I think, not to say Jalen Hurts or Sam Darnold, like all these guys. If you look at it, really, a lot of the guys in the NFC are interception prone. I mean, even, we've talked about Jordan Love throwing picks. Like, there's no, absolute clean football is, there's certain, even Mahomes this year, you can make the case he hasn't played clean football. Like, people will give you the ball if you force it. So, Jared Goff, same thing here. He will force you into, throwing interception, or the Packers can force him, into throwing interceptions. And that's something where, if the Packers can do that, they can win. They can beat the Lions and that type of thing in, a playoff game. I think, like, I don't trust, I wouldn't say Jordan Love is going to throw you out of a game unless he would have one of those, like, 3 interception games. But I just think he's better than that. Like you said, he's now completely healthy, that type of thing too. This team's close. It's just, can they make the play when you need them to make the play? And that's one of those things, sometimes teams find it. Sometimes, it's another year. But we just don't know. They're not far off, though.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think they're close. I really do. And I think they could go on the road. And I'm not scared of Ford Field. Like, honestly, they went in there last night. That felt like a playoff game. The crowd, everything. It felt like a playoff game. And they handled the noise. And they, like you said, they came out in the second half and they answered the call. And that's the biggest thing, is they came out and they answered that call. But you look at what happened in that second half, and this is the biggest killer for any defense ever. Look at the drives. Touchdown drive there. Right after the Packers went and scored and put them up 21-17, the Lions go on a 13-play, 78-yard and 6-minute drive there to put it in the end zone. Their next drive, it was on downs, but then the next drive after that, the touchdown, 10 plays, 79 yards. And then you look at the field goal drive, 11 plays for 53 yards. You want to talk about putting together drives. You want to talk about tiring out a defense right there. 3 straight drives where it was over 10 plays. And burning up clock left and right. You're talking about, you got what? A 3-minute drive there, 5-minute drive on the touchdown drive, and 6-minute drive on the touchdown drive. You burned off basically a whole quarter right there between those drives. Like, that's a backbreaker. You got to find a way to get stopped, somewhat of a stop there, right? And that's what we get back to here, is if, we play in this what-if world. Right? I'm telling you all these what-ifs. If they got that stop, one stop in this game, it changes the whole thing. It changes what we're looking at right now. So that's why I'm saying I cannot sit here and tell you that I came out of that game and said there's no way the Packers beat the Lions. There's no way. Because I do think there's a way. I really do. They went to Ford Field, and they gave the Lions one of their biggest tests that they've had. One of their biggest tests. They gave it to them. And I really do think that if they win, like you said, it's hard to beat a team 3 times. If they go to Ford Field again, I'm not worried about it. I think they could win that game. I really do. And we went back to it and we said, what was the problems, right? 4 for 5 on 4th down. 4 for 5 on 4th down. That's right there. That kills you. 2 4th and goals that they put in the end zone. I believe that's multiple touchdowns they've had on 4th and goal against the Packers, because they had one early on too, or in that first game. So, 4th and goal. You get one stop, changes this whole game here. 3rd down efficiency, 7 for 15. Packers were 1 for 5 on 3rd down. 1 for 5. That tells you how many times they got actually on 3rd down there, but also what their efficiency was when they got to that point. They struggled. They struggled in this one. First, you look at you look at first downs in this one, 27 for the Lions, 17 for the Packers. They got set up in pretty good field position, but I'm looking at time of possession. I'm saying this is where the defense is going to start to get war, like we talked about. 36 minutes the Lions were on offense. 36 minutes. The Packers were on the field for about 23 minutes and 54 seconds, so about 24. The Lions were about 36 minutes and 6 seconds. That's your killer, right? Because turnovers, we talked about turnovers going into this one. Both teams had a turnover. Packers, fumble, Lions, pick. Jordan Love played a relatively clean game. He played efficient. He played efficient football. The Packers played somewhat efficient football after that first quarter and a half. They were right there in this one. But yet we're talking about the Packers, and people are talking about the Packers like they're not a good football team. Like this team's got no shot. They got no shot. And I just think that's blasphemy. Because I'm like, this team can definitely go. They went toe-to-toe with the Lions. They can go toe-to-toe with the Lions. Now, the Eagles have gotten better. But I think right now, the way the Packers are playing, if they get healthy, because they cannot seem to stay healthy, right? Jair Alexander, still out. Romeo Doubs is out. Edgerrin Cooper, one of their better linebackers, is out. Now, the Lions going into this one, they were banged up on the defensive side too. So I'm not going to say anything about injuries or the reason why this game went elsewhere. But I look at the secondary for Green Bay. Eric Stokes. I don't know who needs to hear this, but he stinks. Eric Stokes, I don't know why the Packers, they go into this season and they went into the trade deadline and everything like that. And the one of the biggest needs, I was like, they got to go get a cornerback. They have to get somebody in there because you don't trust Jair Alexander. When is he there? I don't know. When does he play? I don't know. He ain't there. He's barely there, right? He came back for 10 snaps the other day, and now he's out again. So what are we banking on, right? We're banking on young guys. We're banking on Eric Stokes, who, here's his numbers, Aaron. Here's his numbers. Eric Stokes, over the last 3 seasons, when targeted. I saw this on Twitter there by Tyler Brook. He tweeted it out. 57 receptions on 78 targets. 73% completion rating, 688 yards, 8.8 yards per attempt, 7 touchdowns, no interceptions, no pass breakups, and a 129 passer rating.
Not good.
No. And who's in coverage on that? What's his name? Patrick was that guy from?
Yeah, that's what I want to get to too. Like who's that
in coverage on him? Eric Stokes. Eric Stokes is in coverage.
Yeah. I mean, you would think that would be safe. Like, I'm not trying to defend it. Like, guy stinks, right?
Yeah.
But like, you put him on like, who had that on their bingo? Tim Patrick. Like,
nope.
What?
Nope. But this is what you get. This is what you get for playing. I don't even know what they see in him at this point. Like, Eric Stokes has battled through injury. He's found his way back onto the football field. Like, hats off to him. He's had a lot of injuries and he's found his way back. And that's fantastic for him. I love that for him and everything like that. But that is terrible. And he is not let's throw him out there. You had Kalen King. You brought Kalen King up. He's young. Yes, he's a rookie. I agree. He's a rookie. But you brought him up from the practice squad. What would it hurt to have thrown him out there? Nothing. Because Eric Stokes stinks. I don't know why. Who needs to hear that yet? He is not developed. He's not showing anything that he's progressing. I just went over his numbers from the last 3 seasons. He is not progressing. He's not a solid cornerback for you. And yet we keep throwing him out there like, oh my God, one game here, he is just going to explode. He's just going to be that guy. No, he stinks. I don't know why we keep trying to push this or keep trying to, make magic out of nothing. I don't get it. I really don't. I was just going to pull up his PFF grades from this last game. Pass coverage, 61. They graded him at a 61. Tackling, he was a 76. So great. When he gives up one of these great, completions, targets, everything like that, like Eric Stokes can make the tackle. Fantastic. Like, I'm so excited. I'm not. This guy stinks. This guy absolutely stinks. Keyshawn Nixon, everybody wants to blame Keyshawn Nixon all the time. I thought he played an okay game last night. He wasn't great. He played an okay game. He wasn't great at all. Outside of those two, Carrington Valentine, he's young yet. I don't know. Valentine, I wish he could play because Valentine, I think, he's going to have the most upside of all of them. But right now, if you have a glaring weakness for this Green Bay Packers team, it's that at any point last night when the Lions wanted to, they could just throw the football. They could just throw it out there. And somebody was going to get open in that zone. Somebody. They have zero guys in there who I trust man-to-man. None of them. Jair, I trust Jair, but he's not out there. You can't trust him to be out there. So then you have the rest of the goon squad here. And who are you going to trust? I don't trust any of them. I honestly trust Quay Walker in coverage more than I trust anybody on the cornerback room. And Quay Walker, he's going to have a running back, right? He's going to be on the tight ends, but outside of that, he's not keeping up foot speed with Amon-Ra St. Brown. And Amon-Ra St. Brown didn't have a great game, but I mean, this secondary, it eats. It completely stinks. It does. And it really does hurt because I thought last night Kenny Clark finally had a fantastic game. And they showed it in his grade there on PFF. He got an 80 overall. Kenny Clark finally shows up to a football game. And Aaron Mosby had a decent enough game. Devontae Wyatt, Lucas Van Ness got banged up, but he had a good game. Rashawn Gary with a sack. Like, some guys on this defense actually stepped up. And Quay Walker, I know a lot of people are hating on Quay Walker, but in the run defense last night, he played fine. He played good. Not great. Like, I thought he blew past a couple, but he's been playing better. But where's your glaring weakness in that back end, right? Xavier McKinney's fantastic. Like, he's fantastic. You can't knock on Xavier McKinney. He's been fantastic for you. But outside of that, Evan Williams gets hurt last night. So did Javion Bullard. When Bullard got hurt, it's like the floodgates opened because then it was like, who are we going to throw out there now? And Kalen King sitting on that bench, I've been wanting to see him. I was excited for him after preseason. I was like, this could be a guy. Why not throw him out there? But instead, we stick with Eric Stokes, who continuously stinks week after week. And we keep throwing him back out there like it's just going to change. It's not going to change. You signed him back for I don't even know why. You signed him back, and this is what we're getting. He stinks. You have one glaring weakness that you need to address. Not now, right? You can't address it now. But in the offseason, going into next year in the draft, that cornerback room is absolutely terrible. It is absolutely terrible, and you cannot trust Jair Alexander to be there. You can't trust him. And I wish I could, because when he's out there, he's a top cornerback. Like, he's one of the better cornerbacks in football, I believe. When he's out there, well, when's he out there? I don't know. You know, he might get him for – he hasn't played the Lions since 2022. There you go. Hasn't played the Lions since 2022. You play him twice a year, so that's 4 games he's missed against the Lions at least, right? That's ridiculous. As this guy, you can't trust him. And I wish I could, because like I said, he's a fantastic back. But this secondary, they continue to struggle. They continue to struggle. And it just hurts. It just hurts there. But the offense is coming along, right? And that's the big thing that I came away from this game here was after that first quarter and a half, the offense came along. Jordan Love had a solid day, right? Nothing crazy, but a solid day there. Dontavian Wicks stepped up. You know, no Dobbs. You know, Christian Watson had a good game. Reed didn't have any catches. Wicks stepped up. And that was great. It was great to see Wicks step up in a big moment there. The offensive line, they had problems. They definitely had problems in this one here. Early on, I thought they settled in the second half. Josh Jacobs had a fine day. Nothing crazy. A fine day there running the football. 3 touchdowns, right? But outside of that, I mean, the yards weren't big time in this game, but he had a solid day, right? The Lions, they played well in the run game there. The Lions, this is what I'm going to say. The Lions did a lot with a little. Like, they were beat up all the way around. And they're signing guys left and right off the street. These guys don't even know they're like, I heard Al Michaels made a joke about it last night. He's like, you know, 2 guys introducing themselves to each other. Like, hey, I'm this guy, you know, hey, I'm this guy, you know, like in the game. And I'm like, yeah, like that's where they're at. Like, the Lions, no, I don't want to feel like, I don't want anybody to feel like I'm, you know, dissing on the Lions right now. I'm not dissing on the Lions at all. Like, I think the Lions, they're fantastic. I mean, they're playing fantastic. But I don't think the Packers are that far off from being a legit contender. Now, they're going to have to go on the road to do it. And the last team to go on the road throughout the playoffs and win a Super Bowl, guess what? It was the Green Bay Packers. When they won the Super Bowl, they went on the road through all the playoffs. So, I mean, this is a team. There's weaknesses, 100%. But we got to stop blaming Jeff Hafley. Hafley, I mean, he's not, you know, I'm the first to blame coordinators. I'm the first to blame coordinators. I blame Phil Longo for the Badgers. Yeah, I wanted to blame him. I blame Tressel for the defense at times. We can sit here and we can blame Hafley for the defense and the struggles at times there to get stops. Hey, you can only scheme it up so well. Ben Johnson is fantastic. He is. I honestly sometimes well, not sometimes, during that game last night, I was sitting there and I'm watching this, offense for the Lions, and I'm like, wow, like that's a great play call. I mean, we talked about it earlier. We said, that little angle route that he ran to Jahmyr Gibbs, like that was wow, like that was fantastic. And he had a couple other play calls in there where I'm like, this guy just, if you're Dan Campbell, why do you go for it on fourth down so much? You got this guy. Like you just know that on a 4th and 2 or whatever it is, he is going to draw you up something that's going to get that first down. You just know that in the back of your head. Like you just know this guy's going to get the job done for you. And that is a complete, like, that's awesome. That's awesome to have if you're Dan Campbell. It sucks for the rest of football, but it's great if you're Dan Campbell there because you have that ability because you have a great offensive coordinator. So, I mean, this game here, to wrap it up for myself, and I'll let Aaron just speak a little bit here before we get to the rest of the NFL picks for the weekend there to wrap it up. But I came out of this game, the big question we said was, did we come out of this game believing the Packers could beat anyone in this NFC? I came out of this game believing the Packers could go on the road and they could pull off a win against one of these great teams in the Lions or the Eagles. I came out of this game believing that because I think the offense, I think Jordan Love's playing great. I think he's playing great. He's not playing MVP level football. Don't get me wrong. He's not playing MVP level football, but he's doing what he's got to do. And I think this offense can get going. And I really do think the defense, they're bend but don't break defense. And I think they can figure it out at times. I think they can get stops. I all in all, I came out of this game. I trust the Packers a little bit more right now than I did before this one because of what this game looked like.
I will ask you this. If it's going to falter, like whether it be the offense or the defense, to me, I sometimes worry about Jordan Love's protection, but he can, like you alluded to that play that he kind of came out of the pocket. Like he ducked under that one guy and then came through the pocket. And that was like textbook. I mean, that's what you look for out of a guy that, you're paying that much money. Like that is an elite play. But I think I worry more so like how you kind of alluded to how the pass defense was kind of getting ripped to shreds. That would be, I think, like if they were to lose, because like the Eagles are kind of playing like the Packers offensively in the fact that they're not putting Hurts back there more than 25 times to throw the ball either. Until Saquon doesn't work, like they're not going away from that, which is I think is smart too. I'm in the same book of thinking there with how the Packers are using Jacobs till they can't use that. It's like, okay, we're gonna grind that out as many times as we can, and then you get RPOs and things like that that open up better. But do you think if the Packers were to have postseason struggle in any way, would you think it would like lie on the defense? Excuse me, like it would be more possible that the defense lets you down than the offense at this point?
No. Well, yes, but no.
Okay.
Because I don't think you can go into a place like Ford Field and put up 31 points and say that you should have won that football game. I don't think you can. I don't think you can as the Eagles. I don't think you can do it as the Chiefs. If you score, like I said earlier, I mean, you had the first 3 drives where it was punt, fumble. You score a touchdown in any of those drives, you put up, 35 points in this game, you win. It's not crazy to think that if you score 35 points that you should win this football game, but it's also not crazy to say that if you score 31, you should lose this game because the Lions are good. They're a good football team that finds ways to eke out wins just like this. They find ways. I mean, the Lions have a high-powered offense. They have, Sonic and Knuckles, right? You have nicknames like that. You have a heck of a backfield. You have a pretty good offensive line. You have playmakers in the wide receiver room. And you have Jared Goff, who distributes the football extremely well. And I came out of that game last night thinking to myself, why is Jared Goff not in an MVP conversation? Because I think that's blasphemy. Because this guy, he balled out in a big game. 283. And sometimes yards they're kind of deceitful, right? Because you're like, oh, he only had 283 yards. But he made big-time throws. He made big-time throws in big-time moments. When it was 3rd and 7, he made a great throw, right? And Lamar Jackson, he makes some great throws. And Josh Allen, they make great throws. I'm not saying they don't. But Jared Goff makes great throws. So I really do think, yes, you can say the defense should have, if they would have got a stop, right? Yeah, I agree. But sometimes you lean it on the back of you went through a quarter and a half where your offense looked terrible. Like they weren't moving the football at all. I mean, I believe I took a screenshot of the halftime stats there for the Packers, 17-7 at the half. And they had in total, let's see here. I was just going to total yards, 104 at the half. You had 104 yards at the half there. You ran 22 plays. You had your time of possession was at 12 minutes compared to 17 for the Lions there. You had 5 penalties for 44 yards. I mean, you look at those halftime stats and you say to yourself, that offense was cold. They were cold coming out. If you come out hot, you probably win that football game, but you came out cold again. So I could say, yeah, you could look at it from either side of the coin. Yeah, if they would have got stopped, right? If they would have had big-time playmakers like, let's just say, T.J. Watt and Fred Warner coming up the middle. Like, yeah, okay, they would have got to stop. But in this game here, if they would have had a successful start to the game there for the offense and it would have got cooking a little bit more and they would have controlled the football and you didn't go into the half down 17-7 once again where you were getting beat up by the Lions, now you're like, okay, that changes it, right? Same thing in that first go around with the Lions. Your offense was struggling. You had the pick six. You went into the half. The Lions came out and scored. Now you're down big time. I mean, you can look at it both ways. Yes, if the secondary was better, yes, right? But truth be told, I mean, Joe Burrow is going to pick apart the Steelers, right? He's going to pick apart the Steelers, right? So, I mean, yes, great secondary would help. It really does. But I'm going to say, honestly, if the offense can put together a complete game, I really don't know what team is going to be like, okay, if you put them on, let's just say they go to Ford Field again and the offense comes out hot and they put a complete game together, a complete game. I'm not saying they score on every drive, but they put a complete game together. They're driving the football. They're putting consistent drives together. I don't know what team is going to, on paper, just mop the Packers. I don't know what team's just going to completely outright beat the Packers if that offense is cooking to start that game. Because you look at what they did in the second half, that offense was moving the football. They were moving the football left and right. Jordan Love was having a good day. He was stepping up. He was making throws. The guys downfield were making plays. Josh Jacobs was running well. I mean, yeah, I would say your offense. You're looking at the offense and you're saying, if the offense can put a complete game together, I think that's the biggest key to their success because your defense is what your defense is. They're going to get stops. They got stops, right? They got off the field in the first half. There was 17-7 going in the half. It could have looked a lot worse. The defense got stops. Your offense was the problem. Now in the second half, yes, stops would have helped. But I'm going to say that if your offense steps up, that's how you're going to win football games, is if your offense puts together complete football games.
Consistency. You're looking for consistency.
Yes, which they haven't done. I mean, you look at the Packers' losses, right? 4 losses. The Vikings game, they're down 28-0, I believe, at one point there, or whatever it was. I don't remember completely what it was. Yeah, it was 28-7 going into half. 28-7, and that one touchdown by the Packers there was late in the second quarter. They had a touchdown throw. Outside of that, you're down 28-7 in the Vikings game. The Eagles game, that offense struggled. They didn't look great in that game. Yeah, they put up 29 points, but the offense didn't look great. Jordan Love was 17 for 34 with a pick. I mean, the offense wasn't looking great. They gave up 17 points there in that first half to the Eagles. They scored 19 themselves, but then the second half, they went away. And you look at the loss to the Lions first time around, this time around, slow starts, slow whole game, slow. I mean, the offense is the key. It's getting it going and playing consistent throughout a football game is the thing that the Packers are lacking at this moment.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see why you say that. And like I said, that's like when you do that, it is a recipe for disaster because, like, we saw the Packers put it together late. But like you said, imagine if they put it together for 4 quarters. You're probably talking about a Packers win. That
you could be talking about a big win. And, it's not just that. It's keeping the Lions off the field. I mean, you talk about what the Lions did to the Packers. 36 minutes of offense compared to 20. What was the Packers there? 24? I mean, you're talking about a difference of dang near 12 minutes. You keep the Lions off the field. You have a quarter of difference.
Yeah. Yes. They have a quarter of time. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I mean, you cannot expect, I don't think that you can expect the defense to hold down the Lions for that long. Like, you cannot expect them. I think the amount of time that they did was actually pretty darn good. So now I'm looking at, I'm saying, what did your offense not do? The Lions did to you what you want to do to them, which was control the time of possession and keep, like Dan Campbell, we talked about it early on in the show there, right? At the top of the show, we said Dan Campbell showed a lot of respect for Jordan Love and Matt LaFleur by going for it on fourth down instead of kicking the field goal to win it. Because otherwise, analytically, there was no reason. No reason. Analytically, I don't know if it would have said to go for it. But when I look at that, I'm like, he did not want to give Jordan Love the ball back because he knew Jordan Love could make throws to kick a field goal. So I'm looking at him saying they kept the Packers off the field, and that's why the Packers lost this game, because the Packers' slow start and those slow drives. I mean, they had how many 3-and-outs? I was just going to look at that there. First drive, 5 plays. Second drive, 3 plays. The third drive was 2 plays. 2 plays. So you're talking about the first 3 drives for the Packers killed about their first drive went for 3 minutes. The second drive went for 51 seconds, and the third drive went for 45 seconds. That's how much time you took off the clock. You did not keep the Lions off the field at all. And your defense was constantly going out there and getting banged around. So I'm looking at this, I'm saying the Packers offense getting going and getting consistency is the key.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It just sucks because I'm talking about it was a great game. Like, this was a great game. It was advertised as going to be a great game. It was a great game. And it just sucks that we're talking about it as a loss, right? I wish we were coming out of it and saying, great win, everything else in between. They went into Ford Field, got the win. They had every chance to do it. And I really do chalk it back to, yes, the reffing sucked. I know everybody's blaming on the reffing. The reffing, it wasn't great, right? But I look at those first 3 drives, the slow start for Green Bay, once again, that was your killer, because you touched the football on 1 drive. You had the touchdown drive. Outside of that, you touched the football 3 times, and you did absolutely nothing with it. You killed 0 clock, and you gave the Lions all the time in the world to do what they wanted, and your defense was constantly on the field, which a recipe for disaster. That's what that is right there. That's a recipe for disaster there, Aaron. So we got about 8 minutes left here. The Bucks did lose. The Bucks did lose to the Celtics, but Chris Middleton did come back though. So I mean, that's cool. That's cool. Chris Middleton's back. I mean, that's exciting. I did see. I believe he scored a little bit in this one. I was going to check that out real fast. Damian Lillard had 31 for the Bucks in this one. Chris Middleton came off the bench, 23 minutes. He was 2 for 10 from the floor, 11 points in the game. Not great percentage-wise, but 11 points. You'll take it. You'll take it there in his first game back. Just getting back into game action, right? And it's going to be probably a little bit of a slow start. He hasn't played since last season, so a little bit of a slow start there. But I will expect him to probably get back into that starting rotation at some point. Gary Trent had a good day, 11 points. Giannis had 30 for the Bucks, but outside of that, it was a lackluster performance. Bobby Portis struggled again, 4 for 16 from the field. 3-point, he was 0 for 4 from 3 in this one. He did have 18 rebounds, which is cool, but outside of that, he struggled from the floor shooting the basketball. So, I mean, that's kind of the game there. That's kind of the game for the Bucks in this one here. So, Aaron, let's get into our NFL weekend picks here to wrap us up. We got about 7 minutes here on the docket. Let's swing through these games here. So, the Sunday slate. Jaguars, Titans. This is going to be an epic battle here. This is like
this is the game of the weekend, huh?
Game of the week here, boys. This is game of the week. Packers and Lions already happened, so this is the new game of the week. We have the 2-10 Jaguars taking on the 3-9 Titans there. I did see Trevor Lawrence did tweet later on, I believe after the hit, and he did say that he was all good and he was at home. So that's great to see. Great to see out of Trevor Lawrence there. But Titans favored by 3.5. This is in Nashville. This is a battle of who's going to suck last. Mac Jones is playing for the Jaguars there. I'm going to take the Titans to win this one. I think they cover the spread.
Yeah, it's as crappy of a game this is. It's kind of like hard to pick in my mind because, you look at like Mac Jones actually didn't play horrible last week. The Titans' strength, if they have a strength, is the defense. I'm a Will Levis guy, but he's just not the guy, it feels like. So, unfortunately, that's the case for the Titans there. Yeah, give me the Titans at home. I'm surprised it's a 4.5-point spread. It's a little insulting to the Jaguars because the Titans aren't that good either. But yeah, give me the Jags. Give me the Titans.
All right. There we both got the Titans. Next up, we have the Jets and the Dolphins. This could be a dogfight too. It's at Hard Rock Stadium. Miami's favored by 6 right now. I'm gonna take the Dolphins. The Jets, they find ways to lose football games, but Aaron Rodgers is out with his new documentary, Enigma there. So I'll be checking that thing out there. I looked up Enigma. I looked it up the other day there to see what the meaning was. A person or a thing that is mysterious, puzzling, or difficult to understand. That is Aaron Rodgers in a nutshell. Enigma.
Oh my God. He might have surpassed Brady as like somebody I cannot like he might have eclipsed.
I love it. I just love it. The story. Like, I hate this. I do. Because Aaron Rodgers, yes, he's a dingleback. He's a dingle nuts. Like, that's the best thing I can say about the guy. Like, he's a dingle nuts. But I just hate this because to see his career end like this, it just stinks. It just really stinks because what this guy was, I mean, literally just like 3 years ago, what this guy was to what he is now is just nuts to see the fall off. And it's just crazy. And I mean, you look at him now and he looks like he just got done smoking 30 packs of cigarettes and riding around on it's like he just got off of some boat. Like he just looks, I don't even know. Like this guy is just, like Tom Brady is old, but he doesn't look, I know he's had surgery and everything like that, but he doesn't look that old. But like Aaron Rodgers looks every bit as old as he is, if not older.
And it's almost like, you know, when you see a president go into the office and then like 4 years later, he looks like he aged like 25 years.
Yes, that is
I feel
him.
like that's Aaron Rodgers when he went to New York. Like, and he can say what he wants. He's like, oh, I love New York, New Jersey, you know. I mean, it's an interesting market. Like I've been New York, New Jersey. It's a place where it'll chew you up and spit you out. And that's what it's doing to Aaron Rodgers. Like, cause he's not playing well. The Jets are not playing well. Like, I mean, I don't know if you caught that pick 6 from the Seahawks last week, but man, that was a
big fella. That was
and just the fact that like Rodgers, like, yeah, I didn't see him, and like, you know, don't get me wrong, you know, we could say Jalen Hurts is throwing that pick, you know, Lamar Jackson, Jordan, it doesn't matter, like any of those guys can make that, but it's just like wow, like because I mean, you look at previous, you know, one thing, like I never trusted Rodgers that much in the playoffs after you know he failed. You know, the Super Bowl, great. And then it just kind of like, okay, come up short. But he did not turn the ball over. And like this year, I don't know how many he has on the season. He was low. He only had 7 for a while. But it just seems like for him to throw that interception is like, man, it's just everything is off with him. I mean, I thought they could beat us okay Seahawks, you know, a 500 level Seahawks team in New York. I don't know if they win another game this season. I haven't looked at their schedule, but I don't think they win here. The Dolphins are trying to hang on for dear life for a playoff spot. It's a must-win game for them. So I have no confidence in the Jets at this point. I have no confidence in Aaron Rodgers. If they bring him back, they are the stupidest organization out there. Just bury it. You know what I mean? Like it didn't work. You went for it. I don't hate them for going for it. You know, this guy's a first ballot Hall of Famer, but at some point, I don't know why their fan base can't say he's not what he used to be. Like their fan base is just like, oh, he's playing injured. Oh, it's the coaching. Oh, like they don't ever want to just say he sucks now. Like he's not the same. He's it's not going to work. You could bring in everybody next year. It's not going to work. Like it's done.
No, I completely agree. Like I said, it just stinks because of what he once was and what he meant to now what he is. And it's wow. So enough about Aaron Rodgers. We'll wait for the documentary. We'll watch Enigma and then we'll come back and talk about him there. But I
guess we have to, right? That's going to be,
we have to. We're both going to watch it. Maybe we'll watch it live and we'll see what we think about it there. So next up, we have Kirk Cousins coming home. He's coming back to Minneapolis to take on the Vikings there. I'm going to go bold here. Give me the Falcons. Give me the Falcons to win that football game. Kirk Cousins is coming off a terrible performance, and everybody's like, oh, Kirk's going to go back home, and he's going to get lit up. Yeah, watch this. Kirk is going to go off. He's going to go off against the Vikings, and Sam Darnold's going to throw a pick or two. Give me Kirk Cousins and the Falcons.
I actually like that, too. I think we both were on the Cardinals, and the Cardinals threw a stinker like they're capable of. Not that the Falcons aren't, but the Falcons are coming off 3 straight losses. Like, they need to find a win here. I think that's going to be part of the reason they do find a win. It's just like they're in desperation a little bit. I know their division sucks, but you can't just continuously lose games. So, yeah, I mean, the Vikings, we've talked about it for like a month and a half. They flirt with disaster every week. They find a way, kind of like the Lions, but they're not the Lions level. So at some point they're going to drop a game. And I feel like this week with Kirk Cousins coming home, it's like, okay, Kirk Cousins, just do enough, like don't turn the ball over 4 times this week and find a way. Because
I agree.
Darnold could definitely do that at one of these games,
Yep. No, I completely agree. I completely agree with that there. So next up, Saints Giants. This is gonna be another barn burner game here. I'm gonna take the Saints. I think they win this game. They go to MetLife. They pull off the win.
Oh, man, I saw what is it? Not DeVito. Drew Lock's getting the start again.
Oh yeah.
I actually am a closet Drew Lock fan. I liked him at what was it? I think it was Vanderbilt. I forget where he went in college, but he was like fun to watch. He's the guy that'll do the flashy stuff when he scores a touchdown. Like, I just like he's kind of got that swagger to him. He tries really hard. Like, that guy was running for his life against Dallas on Thanksgiving. The Saints, Taysom Hill's now out for the year, so don't have that. It's this Saints Drew Carr experience has just not worked out, I guess. Man, give me the Giants on a shocker. Give me the
Giants on a shocker. I like that.
It's not. Both teams suck, but like, I feel like the Giants just find a way to get at least another win this season. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe it's here.
Okay. This one shouldn't be much of a game here at all, but maybe it is. I don't know. Bryce Young's playing better as of late here. The Panthers have looked better, so this could be a good game. Eagles and Panthers there. I'm going to take the Eagles. I don't think it's 13.5. I'm going to be honest. I think the Panthers are playing with something lately, and Bryce Young's been playing better, and Adam Thielen's actually showing up playing football again. I don't know what it is about this game, but I just got that feeling that the Panthers, maybe they cover if it's a 2 touchdown, sure. But I like what the Panthers have been doing. And I think they found it with Bryce Young finally, which I'm glad to see Bryce Young get his shot and earn that spot back. And the Panthers have been playing better. So I'm going to take the Panthers to lose this game, but I think it's going to be a good game. I think it could be a sneaky good game.
I could kind of see it. I think the Eagles are riding so high that it's like, they might take the Panthers lightly. You even in the NFL, you see that, it's like they got up for the Ravens game. This is like, the Panthers have 3 wins on the season. So yeah, I could see that. I think the defense is capable of just like making Bryce Young's day horrible, but maybe, there's some offensive struggles on the Eagles side or something like that. Every once in a while, the Eagles will throw a clunker, even in a good season like this. You'll just see them like not be able to do much of anything. Happens to a lot of teams, but the Eagles especially for some reason, it seems like. So, give me the Eagles. I'd probably put my life savings on it, but it might be closer than like taking the spread is a risk. That's a big 14-point spread in the NFL is huge. So yeah, could be closer than that. I root for Bryce Young individually because he's had a rough go at it. Seems like a good kid too. So, I think Eagles win.
I know some guy put his life savings on it. He put
30 million,
3.1 million wager on the Eagles to beat the Panthers. Dude, like, I don't know what are the Vegas odds cannot be good for the Panthers to pull off an upset here. So I don't know what he even wins off of that, but we'll wait and see what he could pull out of that bet. 3.1 million's nuts. That's nuts. It's a safe bet, like good for you, a safe bet, but what if the Panthers pull that off?
Yeah, you're like risking like so much to make not a whole lot versus, if you put 2 million on the Panthers or something. Like, if you're in that situation, it's like.
So what it says is that Circa Sports took the wager on the Eagles money line Thursday afternoon at negative 700 odds, which would net approximately $442,800. In response, the sportsbook moved its line on Philadelphia to negative 870, and lengthened Carolina to plus 650. Other sportsbook have Philly as long as 675, with the Birds giving around 13 points to the Panthers. So I don't know if he's bet the spread or what. I have half of it screenshotted there. So, I mean, that's just nuts. That's just nuts amount of money to put onto a game there. But we'll wait and see. Maybe he pulls off some money out of this one. So next up, Browns and Steelers. I think the Steelers win, but I love what Jameis Winston's doing. He makes it exciting. He makes games exciting. That game against the Broncos, like I thought it was going to be a dumpster fire. That was an exciting game. And Jameis Winston, yes, he's going to throw picks and he's going to do this crazy crap in between, but he makes it exciting because he goes out there and he plays the game of football with fun. And I can't hate that guy. I can't hate that guy at all. He's just a great dude all the way around. And I hope that, he finds success somewhere here. So I like the Steelers to win this game, but I think it could be a good one. I think Jameis Winston, he's just chucking the ball around and it's exciting. It really is.
Yeah, if you remember, what do you want to say, like a month ago, these teams played in Cleveland. Cleveland got that. My buddy was telling me that. He's like,
miserably snow.
Yeah, right. And my buddy he's like, Cleveland money line, Cleveland. Like, I was like, no, I don't see it. Like, and sure enough, these division games, like, we talk about NFC East, NFC North, AFC North though is those are battles. I don't care who it is. Those teams go at it. They give it you could argue these are some of the best division games there are. But I think the Steelers remember that game all too well. And they're going to say, you know what, Jameis Winston, enough of that. We'll pick you off a couple times just like Denver did. But I'm with you though. I do like Jameis. It's impossible to hate the guy, but I just feel like the Steelers are going to come out a little bit, pissed off in the back of their mind. Like, hey, we remember you guys, and, get right. And the Steelers get the win, split the season series there.
All right. There we go. Next up, Buccaneers, Raiders. I got the Buccaneers winning that game. It's in Tampa. I think the Bucs take it.
Yeah, we talk about bad teams. Man, the Raiders are. Do you think they fire Antonio Pierce after this year? Or
I wouldn't. Just because you give them nothing to work with. Right, I wouldn't, but I think they will. I don't know if it's the wrong decision. I think sometimes you got to bring in a head coach that you feel like can work with a rookie QB, right? So I don't know. Wait and see, right? Wait and see on that one. I think he's definitely on the hot seat. I think he's definitely a hot seat candidate. I'm guessing it's going to depend on what other teams fire their head coach, right? Dable's probably going to get fired here. We're going to see a lot of other firings. Which guys get fired there? Because you're grouping. Maybe Ben Johnson gets some phone calls from the Lions there. You have some other guys. Brian Flores might get phone calls there too. So, see who's available, who else is looking, that kind of thing. If you really want to fire him, I wouldn't fire him just because, but probably, right? Probably. So, you're taking the Buccaneers though?
Yeah. See, that's what I think. Like, what the Chargers did was smart. They're like, okay, we're going to get, like, you go get a guy like Harbaugh. Like, I'm not saying they grow on trees, but if you're the Raiders, like, okay, I'm not saying Ben Johnson's bad. Like, he's a great offensive coordinator, but can he be a head coach? Like, we've seen Harbaugh be a successful head coach. I feel like that's what they have to wait on. But I don't know who's going to come and save them. But, like, that they should have tried to get Harbaugh. It's one of those situations. Like, you have to land a guy that's had success, not, like, forever ago like Rex Ryan. And the Raiders are stuck with, like, all these interim coaches. You had the John Gruden thing with the email. Like, they just can't. I don't know. You have to hit on – maybe Tom Brady coaches. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, it's going to be a wait and see with them too. There's going to be a lot of head coach. I think there's going to be a wide carousel of coaching changes here coming up in the offseason. So next up, we have the Cardinals and Seahawks, a little battle there in the NFC West. This I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the Cardinals are up top right now in the NFC West at the moment. And the Seahawks are just behind there. They're trailing by that. Oh, no, Seahawks are up top. Sorry, there. Seahawks are up top. Cardinals are in second place there. But the Cardinals are just trailing them there. So this is a big game for the NFC West, even though it's dog crap, but it's whatever at this point. The records are just what they are. I'm going to take the Cardinals to win that game at home. I like the Cardinals to win that game.
Yeah, I think this one is an absolute nail biter in my opinion. Seattle, I know it was just the Jets, but they, had a lot going on defensively for them. Just some momentum more so. The Jets beat themselves, but, you carry some momentum with that game. Arizona's is like pretty much a must win to keep pace, like you said right there, with Seattle. 49ers are falling apart, obviously with the injuries of McCaffrey and stuff. So yeah, I mean, this is a game where Arizona, I think they just kind of do enough to win, and you kind of like I said, you kind of have to here. So I expect them to figure it out at least this week.
All right. Game of the week here. Bills and Rams. This should be a good one. I think it'll be a sneaky good game in that 325 slot there. Give me the Bills to go out to SoFi and win that one. But I think I don't. It's going to be a good game. It's going to be a good game there. Really good game between the Rams and the Bills there.
I'm going upset alert here too. I think the Rams, the pass rush, we don't talk about Aaron Donald anymore because he's gone, but we talked about it when the Packers played them. Like, they have a pretty good pass rush. I think they're going to give Josh Allen some problems. The Bills are rolling along like almost too good right now, so I expect just like one of those games out of nowhere. And because the Rams are in SoFi, I just think the Rams find a way to win this one.
Okay. I like that one there. Next up, we have the 49ers and the Bears. This could be a dog. I'm going to be honest with you. It's in Santa Clara. I don't know what the injury report. I know Brock Purdy's probably going to play, but I don't know I know, you got McCaffrey's out for the 49ers now. Isaac Guerrero is going to get the start there. Debo's playing. Juwan Jennings is playing. Kittle's playing. Trent Williams will be out for this game. I could see the Bears winning it. I really could. I could see the Bears winning this football game.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm going to take the 49ers. I'm going to take the 49ers to win this game. The Bears, they just find ways to lose football games. Maybe they do win this game. I think they could. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be, in its own way, a good game. But I like the 49ers to win it. I think Brock Purdy is going to have a little bit better of a game here than what he did in Buffalo there in the snow. So I'm going to take the 49ers to win this game. I think Isaac Guerrero, former Badger, he's going to have a big day for this 49ers team.
Yeah, this one is tough, right? I mean, man, the battle of just like these the higher expectations on both at the beginning of the year. 49ers are way banged up. I mean, I'm looking at the injury report now. Like you said, Trent Williams, Nick Bosa's not playing, like, big names. Trent Williams not playing, like you said. I almost want to go Bears here just because this 49ers team is like not even close to the 49ers team. It's like a complete shell of themselves. I know the Bears fired their coach, Eberflus, probably for the better, honestly, but I guess I'll go 49ers. I trust that they're coached better, but man, they have nothing right now. Like they just, it's like, who are these guys basically out there for the 49ers at this point?
It kind of sucks. It kind of sucks if you are a 49ers fan because you had a lot of playmakers coming into this season and the playmakers are gone. They're like basically all on the shelf here. So we have the Sunday night game. This is going to be a big one. Chargers and Chiefs in this one. It's going to be at Arrowhead. I took the Chargers. I like the Chargers to win this game. They're going to go to Arrowhead and they're going to pull off an upset here. The Chiefs like to cake. They like to play patty cake and kind of just walk games. And I think the Chargers take advantage of that in this one. I think Jim Harbaugh is a heck of a head coach. Don't get me wrong. Andy Reid's fantastic. But I like the Chargers in this one.
It's hard to pick against the Chiefs. It really is.
It is.
I respect it. I definitely do. Chargers were on a burner up until that Ravens game, but then they bounced back in an ugly fashion against the Falcons, but a win's a win. I got to go Chiefs here, unfortunately.
Chiefs.
I could see it, though. I see it, and I hope you're right. I really hope you're right. So either way, but I think the Chiefs unfortunately find a way.
All right. Next up, last game here, Monday night. We have the Bengals and the Cowboys. I took the Bengals. I think that if you want to go offense to offense and have a shootout, Joe Burrow and the Bengals.
I feel like the Bengals they're shot. I think their playoffs chances are pretty much shot, if not completely shot. They're 4-8. So, but yeah, Bengals offense, one of the best in the league. Bengals defense, one of the worst in the league, but they do just enough. Did you see that before we get out of here? Did you see that clip of Jamar Chase when they asked him about the defense? And it was like, what do you think about the guys on defense or whatever? And he's like, I don't know. You got to ask them. And he just looks over there with like a dead expression on his face. Like that is, I mean, the team shot for this year, but that's not a team guy. You know,
No.
if you're saying that, it's like you don't care. Like you don't.
Well, at what point do you kind of get sick of it, though?
No, I absolutely just coming out to the media like that is like, wow, you must.
Yeah, no, I would agree. You got to
be.
be better with the media, but I don't expect Jamar Chase to be better. Like, that's a question. If you ask Joe Burrow, it's going to be a little better answered. But in the back of everybody's head, and even the guys on defense, they're like, we suck. Like, we suck. Like, we are the reason why Joe Burrow is not up for an MVP right now. Because if you want to throw numbers to numbers, let's throw Joe Burrow's numbers against everybody who's up for an MVP conversation right now. Because you want to talk statistics, let's talk Joe Burrow's statistics because they're fantastic. So, I mean, it's hard to be on the side of a defense that just sucks. It's hard. It is really hard. I get the team aspect. You want to keep the team together, and I get that. But after a while, I mean, you're doing everything you can on the offensive side of the football. And when you get on the defensive side and you look at those numbers, and you're like, oh, why did we lose this game? We scored 35 points. Why did we lose? Oh, because we gave up 41. Oh, because we gave up 50-something. I mean, it's bad. It's definitely bad.
No,
so
you're absolutely right. I mean, he's first in yards, first in I didn't realize he was doing like this crazy.
This is like numbers that if he would be a clear-cut favorite for the MVP if the Bengals had a winning record. He'd be clear-cut.
even 2 games above 500. Like, that's because he's. I mean, you're carrying a team. He's third in QBR, first in yards, first in touchdowns. Like that's.
He blows everybody out of the water. Everybody out of the water. And yet he's not even in the conversation.
That's
not even in the conversation.
He deserves better. That's what I mean. Just that organization to me, I don't trust. I don't.
No, and I think there'll be a coaching change there. I think there should be a GM change there. I think there should be an ownership change there. I think there should be a lot of change there because that is just, it is terrible that you are putting an offense like that through a defense like that. Like, you cannot expect, I know we were talking about the Packers before, scoring more points. Like, you cannot expect your offense to consistently have to put 40-some points on the board just to win a football game. Just to win any kind of football game. Like, even against crap teams. You go against the Patriots. Yes, that game, they sucked on offense. But the Chiefs, they put up 25 points. They lose that one 26-25. Then you have that game against the Commanders. You put up 33 points, you lose. You put up 34 points against the Panthers, and they still score 24 against you. You put up 38 against the Ravens, you lose 41-38. You put up 17 against the Eagles, you lose 37-17. That's going to happen there. But, I mean, you put up 34 against the Ravens again, you lose 35-34. Like, you're putting up the numbers, but you're still losing football games. The Steelers, 38 points, you lose 44-38 there, and you make Russell Wilson look like he's primetime Russell Wilson going to win an MVP. Like, it's just, that's how bad you are. That's how bad you are. So, I mean, just wow. Just wow. And Joe Burrow, like you said, deserves better than that crap show that's going on out there right now. So, Aaron, I mean, we passed the 2-hour mark. We're way over mark tonight, but that's okay. What do you got anything else to wrap us up here for the night, or?
No, did you hear the big, not a huge signing, but did you hear the Mets signing? Kind of surprising and really surprising how they worded it too.
Luis Severino?
No.
One
more. No, I don't. Maybe it came through when we were doing this, but I.
Who's the other one?
It's a Yankees pitcher. I'll give you that. Who do you throw a name out there?
It wasn't Severino?
Nope.
Like Yankees from last year?
Yankees on the team last year, yeah.
Well, Garrett Cole's locked up.
It's okay if you're like, don't put too much pressure on it. This is a weird one. I didn't expect it at all.
It is late at night here. It's 10:46. It's 11:46 Eastern time right now. Like, you just got to throw me a bone here.
Bullpen guy.
Clay Holmes.
Clay Holmes, right? 3 years to the Mets. And let me pull that back up. I know they said to be a starting pitcher is the goal here, which is he wasn't
a good bullpen pitcher. Why are you
it makes no sense. 3 years, $38 million with an opt-out after the second year. And they plan to use him as a starting pitcher. I don't understand that move whatsoever. I mean, he sucked the second
Matt's got money to spend, dog. They're gonna spend
it all. But that's man, there's like 80 million better options. I mean, if they want to shoot their load there, that's risky.
That's okay. They're gonna get Juan Soto too yet, and then they'll just have it all. They're just going to sign everybody. We know the Mets do this. The Mets make stupid contracts, right? I mean, we're talking about Verlander, Scherzer. They make stupid contracts and they don't pay off. That's the Mets.
I know, but man, like Clay Holmes is probably like on his hands and knees begging, like just thanking the Mets, because it's like, dude, you became such a liability that the Yankees wouldn't let you in for an entire inning, and now the Mets are like, here's $38 million over 3, and you can opt out. Like, I don't know, man, but like you said, maybe the Mets are just trying to steal all the Yankees. Like they're gonna take Soto next. They're gonna go get Rizzo. He'll be 40 years old. Like, who knows? I don't know what the strategy here is.
That could be. They saw him go to World Series. They're like, hey, if we just bring them all over here, we got to go too. That's just how it works.
Then they think the Yankees fans will follow because like all the Yankees former players. I don't know. It's weird. It's
the Mets. It's the Mets. Nobody. David Stearns is out there now, and he sees talent in guys. So maybe he sees talent in Clay Holmes that he thinks possibly the Mets could get out of him.
He had it. It's just, where did it go?
Yep. Maybe he thinks they can fix him. So we'll wait and see what the Mets do with Clay Holmes here. A big signing there, I guess, for the Mets. Mets fans are ecstatic. They're just going through the roof at this point here. So, Aaron, I think we got to get out of here. It's been a long night here. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in tonight on the show. We will be back on Sunday. Hopefully, we're talking about a Badgers win against Marquette. Hopefully, we're talking about Penn State beating Oregon there in the Big Ten Championship. So, Aaron's through the roof. He'll be excited. He'll be ready to go on Sunday there. It's going to be a big Sunday. We got to talk Packers a little bit more. We're going to talk about it all come here on Sunday on this show. So, for Aaron and myself, this has been Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. Thank you all for tuning in. We hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. But until we talk to you guys again on Sunday, see ya.